Chapter 4301. The madman was secretly unhappy. The inner demons really don't know what's polite, directly taking the peak sovereign weapon. He was the one who killed Dong Qingyuan. If I don't give it to him, should I give it to you? The white-eyed wolf looked down on him. Do I look like such a greedy person? You're a hypocrite. You speak so righteously, but in your heart, you can't wait to snatch it. The madman secretly laughed. You even know this? Are you a worm in my stomach? The white-eyed wolf looked at him jokingly. Scram! The madman's face was dark. Don't be so disgusting, okay? Enough. But with this peak sovereign weapon in our hands, we're the ones who benefit. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and smiled. That's true, but if this sovereign weapon is in the hands of the inner demons, what if the emperor asks him to hand it over when he returns to the central dynasty? The madman frowned. Wouldn't that be a waste of effort? Qin Feiyang laughed. Do you think with the inner demon's personality, he will still hand it over when it's in his hands? The madman was stunned. Suddenly, he laughed out loud. Indeed. With the inner demon's temper, not to mention the emperor, even if the sovereign of the divine kingdom appeared, he might not necessarily hand it over. What are they laughing about? The people in the city below looked at the three people in the sky suspiciously. Do you still need to think? There's no doubt that they are the biggest winners in this game. If it were me, I would also laugh. Yes. How terrifying. It feels like no matter what, nothing can stop them. Everyone murmured. Qin Feiyang looked down at the city below and laughed. Although I'm from the sky cloud realm, to be honest, the central dynasty's attitude towards the three races is not pleasing to the eye even for an outsider like me. So in the future, if you want to resist the central dynasty's rule, feel free to come to me. What's in it for us? Will you be kind enough to help us? Someone asked. Qin Feiyang laughed. He was afraid that no one would ask. Because if no one asked, it meant that there was no chance. Of course. As long as you renounce the darkness and join the light. To show my sincerity, I'll give you a good fortune now. Qin Feiyang smiled. What good fortune? Everyone was bewildered. White-eyed wolf and madman also looked at Qin Feiyang in confusion. What was going on this time? A moment passed. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and ultimate law's inheritances appeared out of thin air. After waiting for so long, he wasn't purposely keeping everyone in suspense. Instead, he was waiting for Fire Lotus to prepare. This was because all the nomological legacies were in the hands of the Fire Lotus. This is, the people in the city were in an uproar. There were at least 10,000 ultimate profound inheritances. The mad scientist and the white-eyed wolf were stunned. These ultimate profound legacies were only ordinary laws. However, even if they were ordinary laws, there were 10,000 of them. It was still a huge treasure. Old Qin, this guy, must be crazy. Taking out so many legacies to give to these irrelevant people. Over the years, we've come to Clear Sky City many times and caused a lot of trouble for everyone. So, take this as a little compensation for everyone. Qin Feiyang smiled. With a wave of his hand, the 10,000 ultimate profound legacies turned into streams of light and flew to every corner of Clear Sky City. Quick! That's mine. Don't snatch it. The people in the city went crazy and scrambled to snatch it. Ordinary ultimate law's inheritances weren't worth much to people like Qin Feiyang, but to ordinary people, they were priceless. You can snatch it, but you can't kill anyone. Otherwise, I'll take it all back. Qin Feiyang spoke, and his gentle voice entered everyone's ears. Some people had already started fighting. But when they heard this, they quickly stopped. White-eyed wolf raised his hand and touched Qin Feiyang's forehead. He turned to Madman and said suspiciously, "This guy doesn't have a fever." "Really?" Madman didn't believe it and also raised his hand to touch Qin Feiyang's forehead. He really didn't have a fever. But why would he do such a crazy thing? Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes and said speechlessly, "Back then, we robbed the sea race and beast race of their ultimate profound legacies and obtained more than 700,000 ordinary ultimate laws inheritances. What's the big deal about giving them 10,000? But, the two frowned. I know you feel distressed. Instead of giving it to them, it's better to give it to the people of the Black Tortoise world and Sky Cloud world. But, have you thought about what benefits these 10,000 legacies can bring us?" Qin Feiyang smiled. "Benefits?" White-Eyed Wolf was stunned and said suspiciously, "Are you trying to buy people's hearts?" "Yes. Although the monarch and the others have already formed an alliance with us, the people below must be very resistant to us. So, I suddenly thought of this idea to give them some benefits. This way, they will feel that we are still very good in their hearts." Qin Feiyang laughed secretly. "So that's how it is." Madman nodded and said disdainfully, "You are indeed a sly old fox. Do you know how to speak?" Qin Feiyang stared at the two. This was to prepare to overthrow the central dynasty. How was he a sly old fox? Suddenly, White-Eyed Wolf scanned the void and said suspiciously, "Where are Dong Tianqian, Dong Ping, and Dong Xian?" Qin Feiyang and Madman were stunned. They couldn't help but look up and scan the void, but they really didn't see any figures of the three. "They sneaked away when we weren't paying attention." White-Eyed Wolf frowned. "I guess so. They are afraid that we will attack them." Madman nodded. "If we attack them now, do we still need to spend so much effort?" White-Eyed Wolf sneered, looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Do you want to kill them?" Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and waved his hand, "Let's keep them for now. Anyway, they can't do anything now. Moreover, Dong Ping and Dong Xian are controlled by the soul-controlling technique. When the time comes, we might be able to give the central dynasty a surprise. As for Dong Lifu, now, he has no value. Dong Lifu, self-destruct." Even in the face of such an order, Dong Lifu didn't hesitate or resist. His divine soul flew out from the top of his head and immediately shattered in the void. His corpse also immediately fell down to the city below. From the beginning, Qin Feiyang didn't intend to let Dong Lifu go. Because all the plans against them were basically thought of by Dong Lifu. Dong Qingyuan nodded in agreement. From this, it could be seen how ruthless Dong Lifu was. Such a person would definitely not be left alive. Below. After a few hundred breaths of crazily snatching, the 10,000 ultimate inheritances were finally snatched. Someone snatched one. Someone snatched 2 inheritances. A few lucky people even snatched 3 or 4 inheritances. This made them extremely excited. Because this was the inheritance of the ultimate profound, not the epitome of the laws. This was equivalent to a gift from the heavens, a great fortune. Those who didn't snatch it were disappointed. "Brother Qin, can you give us some more?" Someone looked up at the sky unwillingly. Even the way they addressed him had changed. But in the sky, the figures of Qin Feiyang and the other two could no longer be found. The 3 of them had already left at some point. Thousand Phoenix Mountain. On a mountain peak. 2 black figures stood silently at the edge of the cliff. They glanced at the vast mountains and rivers in front of them with smiles on their faces. It was the inner demons and Lu Jiajin. Buzz. After a while, a time passage appeared. The inner demons and Lu Jiajin looked up and saw 3 young men walking out. Who else could it be but Qin Feiyang and the other 2? "Here." Lu Jiajin waved his hand. Qin Feiyang and the other 2 looked down with a smile on their faces and landed on the mountain peak. The White-Eyed Wolf immediately went up to the inner demons and said with a smile, "Little devil, let me take a look at that peak-level sovereign divine weapon." Qin Feiyang and the madman looked at each other and smiled helplessly. As expected. This guy had always been thinking about this divine weapon. What are you looking at? There's nothing to look at. The inner demons glanced at him and directly refused. How could he not know the white-eyed wolf's character? Once he took it out, he could forget about taking it back. Damn! Are you guarding against thieves? We are brothers. The white-eyed wolf said angrily. Yes, I am guarding against thieves. Guarding against thieves like you. The inner demons nodded. He didn't give him any face at all. The white-eyed wolf was so angry that his teeth itched. Wait. Qin Feiyang suddenly thought of something and hurriedly asked, where did you put this divine weapon? We can't let it know about our relationship yet. After all, it was a peak-level sovereign divine weapon. If it suddenly betrayed them, wouldn't they be in trouble? Don't worry. We've already thought of this. We've already forced it to make a blood oath that it will forever be loyal to us, and now it's sealed in my space divine item. The inner demon said. That's good. Qin Feiyang heaved a sigh of relief. No. Didn't you say that your space divine item was confiscated by the Central Dynasty before you left? The white-eyed wolf was suspicious. Idiot. The inner demons rolled his eyes. Why are you suddenly scolding me? Is it because I haven't taught you a lesson in a long time and you're itching for a beating? The white-eyed wolf said angrily. Yo. I'm itching for a beating. What can you do about it? The inner demons yelled and looked at the white-eyed wolf provocatively. If you're itching for a beating, I'll beat you up. The white-eyed wolf's gaze was unfriendly. Come on, don't be polite. I'm right here. Come and beat me up. The inner demons bared his teeth and hooked his finger. Seeing this scene, Qin Feiyang and Lu Jiajin looked at each other with smiles on their faces. This was the way they were familiar with each other. Brother Wolf, you can't blame the inner demons for calling you an idiot. Think about it. With his and Lu Jiajin's strength, is it difficult to find another space divine item in the 4 great continents? The madman looked at the white-eyed wolf mockingly. The white-eyed wolf's expression stiffened and he said angrily, do I need you to say that? I don't know. I'm just fooling around with him and nurturing the brotherly relationship that we've lost for many years. You really don't have any foresight at all. The madman's mouth twitched. He could even come up with such a lame excuse. He was indeed a genius. Buzz. At this moment, 3 space-time passages appeared one after another. The person who came was the monarch, the divine king, the sovereign of the human race. And beside the monarch, there was another person. This person was Ji Yunhai. Ji Yunhai. Looking at Ji Yunhai, whether it was Qin Feiyang's group of 3 or the inner demons, they couldn't help but frown. At the same time, Ji Yunhai looked at Qin Feiyang's group and his heart was very nervous. Because after forming the alliance, this was the first time he came into direct contact with Qin Feiyang's group. Moreover, recalling the slaughter he had committed in the Sky Cloud Boundary and the Nether King's Hell, his heart was beating like a drum. After all, these past events couldn't be erased. Why did you bring him here? The madman looked at the divine king, his expression full of displeasure. Although Ji Yunhai had passed the monarch's test, he was still very resistant to this person. In the future, he will be the acting patriarch of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan. I will definitely bring him here to meet you and have a chat. The monarch smiled faintly. In fact, he also knew that Qin Feiyang's group was very resistant to Ji Yunhai. It was also because of this that he brought Ji Yunhai with him, hoping to resolve the previous grudges. There's nothing to talk about. The madman coldly snorted. Right now, he could restrain his killing intent and not make a move on Ji Yunhai. This was already his greatest limit. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf actually had an indifferent attitude towards Ji Yunhai. Although Ji Yunhai also appeared when the Divine Kingdom invaded the Sky Cloud boundary, he didn't bring any actual harm to the Sky Cloud boundary. Moreover, it was Ji Yunhai who suffered a great loss every time. However, the madman couldn't do it. Because the madman and Ji Yunhai already had a great hatred in their previous life. Chapter 4302. What's wrong, this is? A familiar voice rang out. A divine soul flew out from the king's body and transformed into a human figure. It was Heavenly Lord Ji. He looked at Madman and Ji Yunhai suspiciously. This was a divine soul that he split out in advance. Uncle, there are some things you don't know. We can forgive Ji Yunhai, but not little Madman. The white-eyed wolf sighed. Why? Not only Heavenly Lord Ji, the king, the divine king, and the human race's supremes were also puzzled. The white-eyed wolf looked at Madman and sighed deeply. You guys don't know, but little Madman is actually the reincarnation of the Blood Demon King. What? The four of them were stunned. They really didn't know about this matter. Because in the past, Madman had always said that he had obtained the inheritance of the Blood Demon King, which was equivalent to being the Blood Demon King's disciple. But they didn't expect him to be the reincarnation of the Blood Demon King. No wonder Madman didn't like Ji Yunhai so much. Of course. The most shocked was Ji Yunhai. Back then, the Blood Demon King died in his hands. Think about it, how could Madman let go of his enemy in his previous life? So, if I don't kill you now, you should thank the gods. Don't hang around in front of me in the future. Otherwise, if I can't bear it one day, don't blame me for being ruthless. Madman snorted coldly. Ji Yunhai smiled embarrassedly. Indeed. With Madman's current strength, it was too easy to kill him. Although he had already inherited 3,000 incarnations, opened the door of potential, and obtained the ultimate inheritance, he hadn't successfully fused these inheritances. Without the will of the heavenly Tao, even if he had 3,000 incarnations, he might not be able to block Madman's all-evil sword. Moreover, if they really fell out, then as Madman's brothers, Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf would definitely help. If Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf also made a move, then even if he controlled the will of the heavenly Tao, he would only be waiting for death. Alright. For these grudges, we can slowly resolve them in the future. The monarch waved his hand and smiled, breaking the heavy atmosphere. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, now, I will hand your uncle over to you. You have to ensure his safety. Father. Why are you joining in the commotion? What uncle? Isn't this messing up the seniority? Ji Tianjun looked at his old father speechlessly. The king laughed heartily and looked at the inner demons and Lu Jiajin. He cupped his hands and said, Gentlemen, I'll leave the rest to you. We need to figure out the strength of the Death God army as soon as possible. Don't worry. We'll prepare to return to the Central Dynasty. Lu Jiajin nodded. So fast. Qin Feiyang and the others frowned. Strike while the iron is hot. Lu Jiajin smiled. But you've offended Dong Qingyuan. Wouldn't it be dangerous for you to return to the Central Dynasty now? If Dong Qingyuan tries to harm you by then, we can do nothing in the four great continents. The Divine King was rather worried. Thank you for your concern, Senior. But Dong Qingyuan is no longer a threat. This time, he made such a big mistake in the four great continents and caused the beings of the four great continents to resist the Central Dynasty. If the Emperor knows about this, he won't let him go easily. In short, he can't even protect himself now. How would he be in the mood to deal with us? Besides, it's not our fault that we killed him and took his divine weapon. He set us up first. Lu Jiajin smiled. That makes sense. The Divine King, the Human Lord, Ji Yunhai, and Ji Tianjun nodded. Suddenly, The white-eyed wolf rolled his eyes and asked, "Cousin, why don't you try and see if you can take us to the central dynasty?" Huh? Lu Jiajin looked at the white-eyed wolf in shock. Don't you have a space divine item now? As long as we hide in your space divine item, we can easily sneak into the central dynasty. The white-eyed wolf said. You're oversimplifying the problem. There are people guarding the entrance of the central dynasty. Even Dong Tianqian and the others have to go through their inspection before they can enter the central dynasty, let alone us. Lu Jiajin shook his head. So strict? The white-eyed wolf raised his eyebrows. Was there really no way to sneak into the central dynasty? You don't have to rush to the central dynasty. Before the main force of the central dynasty arrives, you should increase your strength quickly. Once the main force arrives, it will be a tough battle. Lu Jiajin looked serious. All right. Then we'll go to the central dynasty in the future. The white-eyed wolf nodded. Lu Jiajin thought for a while and looked at Qin Feiyang and the others. Also, what do you plan to do with Dong Tianqian and the others? Whatever. The mad scientist and the white-eyed wolf shrugged. They could kill them or not. Keep them for now. They'll probably follow you back to the central dynasty this time. Keep an eye out for them when you're there. Qin Feiyang said. Okay. Lu Jiajin nodded. He looked at Qin Feiyang's group of 3 and the monarch's group with a smile on his face. When we return to the central dynasty, Heart Demon and I will try our best to delay the time, giving you enough time to cultivate. The main force of the central dynasty is already on the way. How are you going to delay them? Everyone was doubtful. Simple. When we meet them on the way, we'll just tell them to go back. Lu Jiajin smiled. The Divine King frowned. It's not that I doubt your ability. After all, they're big shots in the central dynasty. Can you make them go back? How will we know if we don't try? Anyway, we'll try our best. Take this opportunity to cultivate. Lu Jiajin smiled. Thank you. The Divine King cupped his hands. They really needed time now. If Lu Jiajin and the inner demons could really do it, it would be a great help to them. We're all on the same side. Don't be so polite. Lu Jiajin waved his hand and smiled. He looked at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf and said, "Live well. In the future, we have to go back together. None of us can be left behind." Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other. Then, they looked at Lu Jiajin and the inner demons and said, "You too. Then let's go our separate ways." Lu Jiajin laughed and then opened a space-time passage and left. The white-eyed wolf hurriedly looked at the inner demons and said, "Little demon, let's talk again. Do you think I want to talk to you?" The inner demons rolled his eyes and followed Lu Jiajin into the space-time passage without looking back. I've never seen such a petty person. The white-eyed wolf grumbled. The king looked at the white-eyed wolf curiously and asked, "What do you want to talk to him about?" "What else?" "He's thinking about Dong Qingyuan's pinnacle dominator divine weapon." The madman pursed his lips. "Heard about it." The king and the others couldn't help but laugh. The human race supreme being looked at the space-time passage that disappeared, then looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, "Speaking of which, you, the inner demons, and your big cousin are both amazing people." His words were full of praise. For the sake of the big picture and the common people, they entered the central dynasty alone. This courage and boldness was unparalleled. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Whether it was the inner demons or his big cousin, they were all his pride. He was proud of them. Phew. The king took a deep breath and said with a smile, "With Dong Qingyuan's self-destruction, this matter has temporarily come to an end. Everyone, quickly go back and cultivate in seclusion." Okay. The Divine King and the human race supreme being nodded. Ji Yunhai suddenly said, "However, there are some things that we can't stop." "What is it?" The king looked at him suspiciously. Although now, the creatures of the four continents are already resentful of the central dynasty, if we just let it go like this, it might be slowly forgotten by the world after a long time. So, we have to add fuel to the fire from time to time, so that the dissatisfaction of the people towards the central dynasty will not decrease but increase. Ji Yunhai said. Hearing this, the king and the others couldn't help but nod in praise. Ji Yunhai was indeed a bit smart to be able to think of such small details. Ji Yunhai pondered for a while and said, actually, we can strike while the iron is hot and persuade the venerables of our three races first. Persuade them? The king, the divine king, and the human race supreme being were stunned. That's right. Ji Yunhai nodded and said with a smile, the venerables of the three races are all people of virtue and prestige. As long as we can persuade them, it will be much easier for us to rise in revolt in the future with their help. Speaking of this, Ji Yunhai looked at the divine king and the human race supreme being, and said, and with their help, the two of you don't have to do everything by yourself. That makes sense. The divine king's eyes lit up, looked at the king and said unhappily, in the past, you had Heavenly Lord Ji to help you, and now you have Ji Yunhai to help you, and the venerables and I have always been doing things by ourselves, it's really a bit tiring. That can't be helped, who asked you to not have a trustworthy person by your side? The king laughed proudly. Hearing this, the divine king and the human race supreme being couldn't help but roll their eyes. Ji Yunhai shook his head and smiled. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, I can go make arrangements for that. However, when the time comes, I will still need you to show yourself. Only by showing yourself will it be convincing enough. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded. Ji Yunhai took out the divine sound transmission stone. The meaning was obvious. Qin Feiyang smiled and also took out the divine sound transmission stone. The two of them established a contract bridge with each other. Then, Ji Yunhai looked at the white-eyed wolf and the madman. The white-eyed wolf scratched his head and nodded, okay, just take it as giving face to the king and uncle. Then, he took out the divine sound transmission stone. But the madman directly ignored it. Ji Yunhai smiled bitterly and didn't force it. After establishing the contract bridge with the white-eyed wolf, he put away the divine sound transmission stone, because some things still needed a process. Then that's it for now. Heavenly Lord, I've fulfilled your wish and let you go to the Black Tortoise world, but you better not be lazy in the Black Tortoise world. The king stared at Heavenly Lord Ji and said, Father, I'm your son, don't you know my character? Heavenly Lord Ji was helpless. It's because you're my son that you should work hard. The king said. Yes, yes, yes. I'll definitely work hard. Heavenly Lord Ji nodded repeatedly. He was already so old, but the king still treated him like a child. Chapter 4303. Second brother, let's go then. The king looked at Ji Yunhai and smiled. Ji Yunhai nodded. Before leaving, he looked at the madman and let out a sigh. If he knew this would happen, why did he do it in the first place? However, who would have thought that one day, the three races would fight side by side with the Sky Cloud realm? If one had to give a conclusion, then it could only be said that it was an ill-fated relationship. The Divine King and the human race's supreme being also didn't stay and opened a space-time tunnel to leave. After sending these people away, Ji Yunhai let out a long sigh. Uncle, what's with your expression? Why do you feel a little liberated? The white-eyed wolf looked at Ji Yunhai with ridicule. For me, this is liberating. I can finally breathe fresh air and see a different world. Heavenly Lord Ji chuckled. Is it that tiring? Others would be eager to sit in your position. You are a typical example of not knowing how lucky you are. The white-eyed wolf despised him. Lucky? Ji Yunhai was slightly taken aback and shook his head with a smile. It's my personal opinion. This was the truth. Some people liked power and the limelight. However, some people liked to live a life without worries and just go with the flow. Ji Yunhai was obviously the latter. The white-eyed wolf rolled his eyes and laughed. Since we helped you get rid of it, shouldn't you thank us? What do you want? Ji Yunhai immediately stared at the white-eyed wolf with vigilance. What's with your attitude? Without us, would the king have let you go? The white-eyed wolf was dissatisfied. Come on. You have the law inheritance, the spirit vein, and the crystal vein. What else do you want? Also, don't call me uncle anymore. According to seniority, you should call me ancestor, understand? Ji Yunhai's face darkened. It was really easy to call him uncle all day. Okay. You are the elder, you have the final say. Ancestor, how are you going to thank us? The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Ji Yunhai was speechless. Why can't you be a saint? Don't ask for anything in return. Besides, they were all a family. There was no need to talk about gratitude. Wasn't that treating him as an outsider? Petty. The white-eyed wolf pouted. The corner of Heavenly Lord Ji's mouth twitched as he said angrily, I'm too lazy to talk nonsense with you. You shouldn't have wasted your breath on him. Argue with him. He can talk to you endlessly for 10 days to half a month. Madman looked at the white-eyed wolf with disdain. Scram. I'm just being reasonable, okay? Who's talking nonsense? The white-eyed wolf was displeased. To hell with your great principles. Madman sneered. Heavenly Lord Ji shook his head and chuckled. These brats were indeed a little fun. He hesitated for a moment and looked at Frenzy with a smile. Little Frenzy, you, uncle, stop for a moment. I know what you want to say. However, this is a grudge between me and Ji Yunhai. Please do not interfere. But don't worry, I won't act recklessly in the face of the big picture. Madman waved his hand. All right. Heavenly Lord Ji nodded helplessly. If he really wanted to talk about this matter, the fault lay with his father, the monarch. Because back then, Ji Yunhai was also ordered by the monarch to go to the Sky Cloud realm. If he were to investigate further, this fault would be placed on the central dynasty in the Divine Kingdom's ruler because his father, the monarch, was also acting under orders. However, no matter whose order it was, Madman did indeed die in the hands of Ji Yunhai in his previous life. And the Nether King's hell was indeed plunged into misery and suffering because of Ji Yunhai's arrival. It was normal for Madman to not be able to get over this hurdle in his heart. We'll talk about these things later. Let's go to the Black Tortoise realm first. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. With a wave of his hand, a group of 4 immediately appeared in the Black Tortoise realm's tea garden. Every time he saw the tea trees in the tea garden, Heavenly Lord Ji couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. To be able to get so many divine tea trees from 9th Master Ji, there was probably only this Qin Feiyang in the world today. Seriously. It seems that I haven't visited those old men for a long time. Qin Feiyang laughed. Didn't you go there when you killed Dong Hanzong? Madman was suspicious. How can it be the same? Visiting them means to visit them without any other factors or motives. Qin Feiyang shook his head, pondered for a moment, and smiled. Anyway, aren't we going to cultivate in seclusion? Why don't we go to the village and accompany them? Accompany them? A trace of disdain crawled up in the white-eyed wolf's eyes, and said, You want to go to 9th Master Ji's tea garden, right? Don't talk nonsense. Qin Feiyang's face darkened, and said angrily, Am I such a greedy person? You definitely won't be greedy for other things, but for the divine tea tree. Everyone knows. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Qin Feiyang laughed dryly, looked at Heavenly Lord Ji and said, Uncle, how about I take you to reconstruct your divine soul and body first? Okay. Heavenly Lord Ji nodded. He had long wanted to see the power of the Eye of Life. As for calling him uncle, he didn't have the energy to complain, as long as he didn't call him big brother. If he called him big brother, it would completely mess up the seniority. The white-eyed wolf suddenly said, "By the way, uncle, does your son know that you faked your death?" "He doesn't know." Heavenly Lord Ji shook his head and sighed, "How would I dare to tell him such a thing?" "That's true. If you tell a brainless person like him, he might tell others in the blink of an eye." The white-eyed wolf nodded. Hey, hey, hey. Can't you give me some face? He's my son after all." Heavenly Lord Ji said angrily. "Ha, it's the truth." The white-eyed wolf smiled. Heavenly Lord Ji's veins were bulging. Who were these people? Then when you self-destructed in Qingtian City, does he hate us very much? The white-eyed wolf asked again. Although Heavenly Lord Ji was forced to self-destruct by the inner demons, this matter was also related to them, because they were the ones who exposed everything. Of course. If he doesn't hate you, I'll teach him a lesson. Because this proves that he's an unfilial white-eyed wolf. Heavenly Lord Ji said. That's interesting. If he sees us in the future, he'll definitely fight us to the death. The white-eyed wolf's eyes were full of evil smiles. What do you want? Let me tell you, I only have one son, and I'm still waiting for him to carry on the family line. Heavenly Lord Ji glared at the white-eyed wolf. The white-eyed wolf waved his hand and said, "It's okay, if you don't mind, you can also take little lunatic as your godson, and he'll help you carry on the family line." Me? Help him carry on the family line? Lunatic pointed at his own nose and looked at the white-eyed wolf with a stunned face. That's right. If you really become uncle's son, then you can openly take advantage of little Qin Zi in the future. At that time, if he doesn't obediently call you ancestor, I think even the king won't let him off. The white-eyed wolf nodded. Qin Feiyang's mouth kept twitching. So did Heavenly Lord Ji and Lunatic. Their foreheads were full of black lines. What the hell is this? No. This damn wolf cub, he's not a good person at all. After Heavenly Lord Ji's divine soul and body were reconstructed, Qin Feiyang personally brought Heavenly Lord Ji to an uninhabited courtyard. Although no one lived in it, Pai Lupi and Theta Wang helped to take care of it, so the courtyard was very clean. This was where Heavenly Lord Ji would live in the future. After settling down, Qin Feiyang also said that Heavenly Lord Ji could go anywhere in the Black Tortoise world as long as he was willing. After chatting for a while, Qin Feiyang and the other two left the Black Tortoise world. The village. It was still quiet and peaceful. In the sky above the mountains, Qin Feiyang and the other two walked side by side. Now that they came to the village, it was like coming home. There was no unfamiliar aura at all. Qin Feiyang looked at the village from afar and said with a smile, "We came here to show our filial piety, right?" "Yes." The two nodded. "Since it's filial piety, shouldn't we prepare some gifts?" Qin Feiyang glanced at the white-eyed wolf. "What do you want?" "I'm telling you, don't have any ideas about me." The white-eyed wolf flashed behind Lunatic and guarded against Qin Feiyang like he was guarding against a thief. "Don't use me as a shield." Lunatic took a step away and glared at the white-eyed wolf. "You have no loyalty." The white-eyed wolf grumbled. "Stop talking nonsense." Qin Feiyang glared at him and asked, "When Dong Qingyuan and Dong Laifu visited us at Blue Sun Mountain, what was the gift they gave you? What does it have to do with you?" The white-eyed wolf immediately covered the interspatial ring, fearing that Qin Feiyang would snatch it. "Do you think we won't know if you don't tell us? What else can make you care so much except for the divine brew?" Lunatic said with disdain. Ha, seeing that Lunatic had exposed him, the white-eyed wolf laughed dryly. "Take out all the divine brews." Qin Feiyang stretched out his hand. "Why?" The white-eyed wolf frowned. Of course, give them to the old master and the others. Qin Feiyang was speechless. How could he not understand this? Was he stupid? It wasn't that the white-eyed wolf didn't understand, but he was playing dumb. For him, asking for these divine brews was asking for his life. Why should I? Besides, why must we give them the divine brews? Doesn't Lord Jiao like drinking tea? You can give him some tea leaves. The white-eyed wolf kept shaking his head, saying that he didn't want to give it to him. Qin Feiyang said angrily, my tea leaves are all from him. Won't you be laughed at if you ask me to give these tea leaves? I won't give it to him anyway. The white-eyed wolf turned his head and looked away. Qin Feiyang and Lunatic looked at each other and shook their heads helplessly. The white-eyed wolf cared about wine almost as much as Lord Jiao cared about tea. While talking, the three of them landed at the entrance of the village. At this time, the sky was still dark. There were no candles in the village, and it was very quiet. I really envy them. Such a big thing happened in Qingtian City, but they still sleep when they should and get up when they should. They don't care about the outside world and live a carefree life. Lunatic shook his head. One day in the future, we can also live such a life. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. I hope so. Lunatic sighed and looked at the river next to him, then looked outside Boss G's house and said with a smile, let's not wake them up first. Let's wait for them to wake up naturally. I saw a few fishing rods outside Grandpa's house. Why don't we play night fishing? Grandpa was naturally referring to Boss G. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. It had been a long time since he calmed down and sat by the river to fish. Fishing was also a kind of cultivation, the cultivation of the mind. Chapter 4304. The frenzied man and the white-eyed wolf were both excited at first. However, when they sat by the river and looked at the bobber that didn't move for a long time, they quickly lost interest. The two of them lay on the grass with their hands behind their heads and looked up at the starry sky. The frenzied man smiled and asked, Old Qin, brother wolf, if I die in the divine kingdom one day, will you still think of me as your brother? Who will think of you? You're not a beauty. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Heartless. The frenzied man pouted. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. Looking at the motionless bobber on the river, he smiled and said, Don't say such unlucky things. Before Big Cousin left, he said that we have to go back alive and not a single one of us can be left behind. Not a single one of us can be left behind, the frenzied man muttered and chuckled, Brother Wolf, did you hear that? Don't fall behind. As he spoke, there was a hint of sleepiness in his voice. I'm talking about you. You're so arrogant and offended so many people. If you're not careful, you'll lose your life. The white-eyed wolf grinned. My life, shouldn't it be my life? You make it sound like I'm already an old antique. As his body and mind relaxed, the frenzied man became more and more sleepy. Do you think you're still young? Sigh. Although I don't want to admit it, we're not young anymore. The people of Great Qin probably think of us as old ancestors now. The white-eyed wolf sighed. Time passed so quickly. Thinking back to the time when he met Qin Feiyang and the frenzied man, it felt like it had just happened yesterday. After waiting for a while and seeing that the frenzied man didn't reply, the white-eyed wolf turned his head and found that the frenzied man had already fallen asleep with a faint smile on his face. He looked very relaxed and peaceful. The white-eyed wolf also smiled and looked up at the boundless starry sky before slowly closing his eyes. Why aren't you talking? After a long time. Qin Feiyang suspiciously turned his head to look at the two of them. Seeing that both of them had fallen asleep, he couldn't help but be surprised. Didn't they say they were going to fish at night? Why are they all asleep? He shook his head and got up. He took out 2 sets of clothes from his universe ring and covered them with them. Subsequently, Qin Feiyang also sat at the side and looked at the quiet night sky with a smile on his face. Although he had left his hometown since he was a child and suffered a lot, he had never been lonely. That was because there was always someone accompanying him. In a person's life, it was enough to have two brothers who were willing to live and die with you. The sky gradually brightened. Early in the morning, the sun shone down and all living things came back to life. Boss Ji was the first to walk out of the house with a teacup in his hand. He looked refreshed. He walked to the entrance of the village and prepared to sit in an armchair to enjoy the tranquility of the morning. But suddenly, he noticed Qin Feiyang and the other two on the riverbank. Why are these three little fellows here? Moreover, they had all fallen asleep by the river. That's right. Qin Feiyang had also fallen asleep. After returning to the village, he felt unprecedentedly relaxed. Unknowingly, he had put down all his burdens and then slowly fell asleep. In fact, this was the sense of belonging and security of home. Ji Lauer and the others also walked out of the house one after another and walked to Boss Ji. When they saw Qin Feiyang and the other two lying by the river, they couldn't help but be stunned. Why are they sleeping by the river? Hurry up and wake them up. If they want to sleep, they should go to bed. After Ji Lausher finished speaking, he walked towards the three of them. Lausher. Master Jiu stopped him. What's wrong? Ji Lausher stopped and turned to look at him suspiciously. Master Jiu shook his head and said, "It's not easy for them to sleep. Don't wake them up." But, Ji Lausher frowned. They are already at such a cultivation level. Are you still afraid that they will catch a cold? Let them have a good rest. These years have been really tiring. Master Jiu smiled slightly and looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two with eyes full of love. All right. Ji Lausher nodded. Indeed. These years, these little guys had been running around in the Divine Kingdom and had to face such a strong enemy like the Central Dynasty. If it were other young people, they would have collapsed long ago. And these three little guys had been strong until now. It wasn't easy. Moreover, with the heavy burden and responsibility on their shoulders, once they were woken up, it was impossible for them to fall asleep again. Master Jiu smiled and said, "But speaking of which, they can sleep so peacefully here. Do you know what this means?" "It means that they are tired." Ji Lausher said without hesitation. "You're wrong." Master Jiu shook his head. "Wrong?" Ji Lausher was stunned and puzzled. Wrong. It's impossible to sleep so soundly alone outside no matter how tired they are. Master Jiu smiled. That's true. Ji Lausher nodded. So, they treat this place as their home. Only the sense of belonging and security of home can make them put down everything and have a good sleep. Look at them now. We're talking loudly, but they haven't woken up. This means that they are very relieved to be here. Master Jiu smiled. Hearing this, a group of old people inadvertently showed a smile on their faces. If they treated this place as their home, then these old people were naturally their family. Old woman, let's have more lunch today. Ji Lauer turned his head to look at the second young mistress and smiled. Keep your voice down. Don't wake them up. The second young mistress glared at the old man who had no sense of propriety. Yes, yes, yes. Ji Lao nodded repeatedly. Time passed little by little. At noon, smoke curled up above the village. The aroma of food soon drifted out. By the river, Qin Feiyang's nose twitched and his eyelids slowly opened. Looking at the scorching sun in the sky, he muttered in a daze, "Why did I fall asleep too? It smells so good." He rubbed his eyes and sat up. He turned his head and saw a group of old people sitting at the entrance of the village, playing chess together. He looked at the room where the second young mistress was. The aroma of food drifted out from that room. "You're so considerate." A smile appeared on Qin Feiyang's face. These old people must have gotten up long ago. They didn't wake them up obviously because they wanted him, the lunatic, and the white-eyed wolf to have a good sleep. This was an invisible kind of care. This kind of care was the most touching. "Wake up." Qin Feiyang withdrew his gaze and reached out to push the lunatic and the white-eyed wolf. The two of them woke up one after another and raised their hands to stretch. This sleep was really comfortable. "You're all awake." Ji Lauer turned his head to look at the three of them. "Yes." The three of them nodded and walked to the river to wash up. Then, they looked at the fishing rod and couldn't help but smile bitterly. They came to fish at night in high spirits, but they all fell asleep on the ground. Then, the three of them put away the fishing rod. The bait was still there, which meant that the fish in the water had not been touched at all. "Great-grandfather, do you have fish in the river?" The lunatic put the fishing rod on his shoulder and ran towards the group of old people while asking. "Fishing like this, it's good enough that the fishing rod is not taken away." Boss Ji rolled his eyes at him. Then, Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said, "Brat, hurry over and help me. This bastard old Gio has been bullying me because of his superior chess skills. Help me take care of him." "Big brother, don't be like this. How can I find help?" Ji Gio said unhappily. "Scared?" Boss Ji chuckled. "What am I scared of? This is a dead game now. I don't believe that this kid can come back from the dead." Ji Gio snorted. Qin Feiyang and the other two walked over. "Come here." Boss Ji waved at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang handed the fishing rod to the white-eyed wolf and walked to Boss Ji's side. Ji Gio looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Kid, if you can break this dead game, I will worship you as my master." "I don't dare." Qin Feiyang quickly waved his hand and looked at the chessboard carefully for a moment. He picked up a chess piece and put it on the chessboard with a smile on his face. "Is it solved just like that?" The group of old people quickly looked at the chessboard. After observing carefully for a while, Boss Ji's eyes suddenly lit up and then he couldn't help but laugh. On the other hand, Ji Gio's face was extremely ugly. It was originally a dead game, but with Qin Feiyang's move, not only did it help Boss Ji revive the game, but it also turned Ji Gio's side into a dead game. "Kid, you're good." Ji Gio patted Qin Feiyang's shoulder and looked at Ji Gio with a smile. "Brother Gio, who told you to show off in front of us all day long? Now you've met your match." Ji Gio glared at Ji Gio, then looked up at Qin Feiyang and said, "What's this move called?" "Desperate counterattack." Qin Feiyang smiled. "What a desperate counterattack," Ji Gio smiled bitterly. "Didn't you want to worship me as your master? Hurry up, I've already prepared tea for you." Madman chuckled. Ji Gio's face darkened and he quickly changed the topic. He coughed and said, "Well. Did you sleep well?" Madman looked at him with disdain and said, "I slept too well." Boss Ji asked, "Then this time, are you going to stay a little longer or?" "That depends on your attitude. If you want us to leave now, we'll leave now. If you want us to stay a little longer, we'll stay a little longer." Madman chuckled. "Then get out of here now," Ji Gio said with a dark face. "I'm so sad." Madman immediately wiped his tears. "Wipe, wipe, wipe. Leave a drop of tear for me to see." Ji Gio rolled his eyes. "Ha!" Madman laughed dryly. "You're all awake." At this time, second young mistress walked out of the house. Qin Feiyang and the other two nodded. "When did you come last night? Why didn't you wake us and sleep by the river? What if you catch a cold?" Second young mistress said reproachfully, but her words were full of concern. Although they all knew that it was impossible for people with their cultivation base to catch a cold, they didn't say it out loud. Because this was her concern for the three of them. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "We came last night in the middle of the night. Seeing that you were all resting, we didn't disturb you. You're treating us as outsiders. This is your home. You can come whenever you want." Second young mistress said. "Thank you, great-grandmother." Qin Feiyang and the other two were touched. "Okay, it's time to eat. You guys clean up." After saying that, second young mistress turned around and went back into the house. Chapter 4305. Time to eat, time to eat. "Everyone, help me clean up." Boss Ji chuckled. Qin Feiyang and the other two quickly went forward to clean up the chessboard and chess pieces on the table. Seeing the three of them scrambling to do the work, the group of old men was pleased. If it was any other young man with the strength and status of the three of them, these old men wouldn't even put them in their eyes. But in the eyes of Qin Feiyang and the other two, they only saw respect and filial piety. "You are guests, how can we let you do it? Let us do it." Ji Laosher mocked. "Guests? Great-grandfather, if you say so, then we will leave now. We came back specifically to show our filial piety." Frenzy said. "Huh? Came back specifically to show our filial piety?" The group of old men looked at each other and looked at the three of them who were busy with their heads lowered. Their eyes were a little wet. "What's wrong?" Qin Feiyang looked at the group of people suspiciously. "Nothing. Sand got into my eyes." Boss Ji waved his hand. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He could even find such a lame excuse. He sighed and said, "The three of us have no relatives or friends in the divine kingdom, let alone a sense of belonging. It was you who gave us the warmth of a family and allowed us to have someone to rely on in the divine kingdom. If we don't show our filial piety to you, who else can we show our filial piety to? I can't say something as emotional as old Qin, but I am really grateful to you for supporting us so much, trusting us, and treating us like your own grandchildren." Frenzy looked up at the group of old men and said. Boss Ji and the others looked at each other and were very pleased. In today's world, there were very few young people like him who knew how to repay kindness. Take their descendants as an example. Even the monarch and Ji Yunhai rarely came to visit them. Needless to say, Ji Shaoi, Ryuko, and the other juniors, if you didn't call them over, they definitely wouldn't take the initiative to visit. Looking at the three kids in front of them. Although they had met less than 10 times, they still cared about these old men in their hearts. Even now, they specially came to show their filial piety. Such a character was rare. "Sit down." Boss Ji waved his hand. Qin Feiyang and the other two placed the chess pieces and the chessboard, and then sat around the table with the group of old people. Second young mistress and the others also came over with delicious dishes. "You three silly children, we heard everything you said outside. What do you mean no relatives or friends? Aren't the people of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan your relatives?" Second young mistress put down the dishes and looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two with a smile. "That's right. You might not like the land of the Purple Gold Divine Dragons, but this place will always be your safe haven." Boss Ji nodded. "Thank you, great-grandpas and great-grandmas." Qin Feiyang and the other two felt their hearts ache. There were still people in the divine kingdom who were genuinely good to them. Second young mistress waved her hand and said, "Don't say so much. Hurry up and eat. You haven't even eaten breakfast." The dishes on the table were wild vegetables personally planted by a group of old people, as well as air-dried fish and meat. Although they were not as good as exotic delicacies, this was the taste of home. Qin Feiyang ate a piece of fish and turned to the white-eyed wolf. He asked, "Didn't you prepare a gift for great-grandpa and great-grandma? Hurry up and take it out." "Huh? The white-eyed wolf looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. Gift? What gift? Why didn't he know? You still have a gift? The group of old people laughed and looked at the white-eyed wolf. Yes. You even specially prepared a gift for great-grandpa and great-grandma. Frenzy looked at Qin Feiyang's eyes and understood. He chewed on a bone and said with a smirk. Seeing the smirk on their faces, the white-eyed wolf immediately understood. He glared at the two of them and reluctantly took out an interspatial ring. You really have one. The group of old people's faces bloomed with smiles. To be honest, as people of their age, they didn't want any gifts at all. They were satisfied as long as the juniors had the heart. It's a gift for you. The white-eyed wolf handed the interspatial ring to Boss G with a smile. Since he had already been tricked, he might as well give it to these old people with a smile rather than a sullen face. As long as these old people were happy, it was fine. Boss G took the interspatial ring and checked it. He was immediately full of smiles. What's this? Ji Laosher was curious. Boss G threw the interspatial ring to Ji Laosher. Ji Laosher checked it and was stunned. So much divine wine. There were at least dozens of varieties. It was not easy to collect dozens of varieties. They might have to go to all the restaurants in the 3 continents. From this, it could be seen that these children were indeed filial. Okay. Since you brought the wine, let's have a few drinks at noon. The group of old people didn't stand on ceremony and took out a few jars of divine wine. The white-eyed wolf's heart ached. He couldn't even bear to drink it himself. Ji Laosher poured the wine and asked, "What are you going to do next?" "What are you talking about, Laosher? Have you seen any children come home to talk about business?" Boss Ji glared at Ji Laosher unhappily. Huh? Ji Laosher was dazed. He patted his head and smiled embarrassedly. Well. Yes, yes, yes. Let's not talk about these annoying things at home. Boss G looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two and smiled. We don't care about what you do outside, but when you come back here, you have to let go of everything and have a good rest. Okay. The 3 nodded. They liked this feeling. A month passed in the blink of an eye. Qin Feiyang and the other 2 stayed in the village. During the day, they accompanied the group of old people and set up a time array to cultivate in seclusion at night. Everything seemed very peaceful. The group of old people was also very happy. They were all smiles all day. Outside, however, a storm was brewing. Under the influence of the monarch, the divine king, and the human sovereign, the people of the 3 major races were more and more dissatisfied with the central dynasty. In fact, the central dynasty was like a rat on the street that everyone wanted to beat up. At the same time. Forbidden Ocean. In the depths. Above the ocean, a group of people came in a mighty manner. These people were men and women, old and young. They were all wearing the same black clothes. There was a sharp sword pattern embroidered on their chest. Each of them exuded an unfathomable aura. And it was filled with a murderous aura. The beasts along the way all fled at the sight of it. We have entered the territory of the 4 great continents. We will leave the Forbidden Ocean in a month or so. Everyone must be prepared. The leader was a black-robed old man. He scanned the endless ocean and said without turning his head. Yes, Commander. The people behind him replied respectfully. There were about 5,000 to 6,000 people. Their eyes were as sharp as blades. Commander, there are people in front. Suddenly. A black-robed middle-aged man pointed at the ocean in front. People. Could it be that Qin Feiyang and the others know that we are going to the 4 great continents and are here to kill us? Someone raised an eyebrow. The commander did not speak and looked at the ocean in front. Soon. 5 figures rushed over at high speed. It was the inner demons, Lu Jiajin, Dong Tianqian, Dong Ping, and Dong Xian. It's them. The commander muttered and quickly went to greet them. At the same time, the inner demons also saw this group of people. Dong Tianqian, who are they? The inner demons was suspicious. Dong Tianqian glanced at the group of people and suddenly noticed the sword pattern on their chest. He said in surprise, "They are from the Death God Army." Death God Army. The inner demons and Lu Jiajin looked at each other. They did not expect that they would send a Death God Army. And there were too many of them. There were about 6,000 of them. Although I have not been to the Death God Army's nest, I have seen the totem on their chest. Dong Tianqian said. It is said that every member of the Death God Army has mastered the will of the heavenly Tao. 6,000 of them came at once. It is clear that the emperor values people like Qin Feiyang very much. Dong Ping said in a deep voice. What should we do now? Should we continue to return to the central dynasty or follow them to the 4 great continents? Dong Xian asked. This, Dong Tianqian and Dong Ping did not know what to do. They could not help but look at the inner demons and Lu Jiajin. The inner demons and Lu Jiajin's eyes flashed. They were originally planning to meet the people from the central dynasty halfway and find an excuse to let them go back. They did not expect that it would be the Death God Army that came. These people would only listen to the emperor's orders. It would be difficult to let them go back. Why don't you say something? Dong Ping looked at the two of them. The inner demon said, I don't care what you do. Big brother and I must return to the central dynasty. Why? Dong Ping was suspicious. Kill Dong Qingyuan. Even if the emperor protects him, he must die. The inner demons laughed. His eyes were full of murderous intent. Dong Tianqian and the other two were shocked. It seemed that Dong Qingyuan's plot to kill the brother's family had completely angered them. I think you should follow us back to the central dynasty. Because of Dong Tianqian, you are bound by the blood oath. Dong Ping and Dong Xian are controlled by the soul-controlling technique. If you go back with the Death God Army now, Qin Feiyang will not let you go. Lu Jiajin's eyes flashed. The 3 of them heard this and their hearts sank. That was right. They could not go back to the 4 great continents. Even if they wanted to go back, they had to break the blood oath and the soul-controlling technique first. Finally, the 2 groups met. Greetings, seniors. Dong Tianqian and the other 2 bowed to the Death God Army. However, the inner demons and Lu Jiajin only smiled coldly. The Death God Army could not help but frown. They were indeed as arrogant as the rumor said. The inner demons did not know these people, but these people had heard about the deeds of the inner demons in the central dynasty. They could only be described with one word, lawless. I am the commander of the Death God Army, Dong Yiming. The leader of the black-robed old men said. Senior Commander. Sorry for the disrespect. Dong Tianqian smiled respectfully. Dong Yiming waved his hand and looked at the 5 of them suspiciously. He asked, where are you going? Back to the central dynasty. Dong Tianqian said truthfully. Back to the central dynasty? Dong Yiming was stunned. The thousands of people behind him also had a trace of suspicion. Dong Yiming asked, have you dealt with Qin Feiyang and the others? Chapter 4306. No. Dong Tianqian shook his head. If it's not settled, why are you going back? Dong Yiming frowned. What does it have to do with you? The inner demons raised an eyebrow and said angrily, why do you have so much nonsense to say? You, Dong Yiming was furious when he saw the inner demon's attitude. Although you brothers are geniuses and strong, I'm still the commander of the Death God Army. Moreover, I'm their senior. Shouldn't the younger generation show respect to their seniors? What about me? The inner demon sneered. How dare you? You have no respect for your seniors. Someone from the Death God army shouted. Seniors, please calm down. More than a month ago, Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng's family members died tragically, so they're in a bad mood. Please forgive them. Dong Tianqian hurriedly explained. Family members. When the members of the Death God Legion heard this, they couldn't help but be stunned. They had always been curious about the identity and background of the inner demons. That's right. They're family members. Dong Tianqian nodded. It seems that the identity of these two has been investigated. Dong Yiming muttered in his heart. He looked at Dong Tianqian and asked, who killed them? Qin Feiyang and the others? If they were really killed by Qin Feiyang and the others, they wouldn't have returned to the Central Dynasty. Dong Tianqian smiled bitterly. Then who killed them? How dare they touch the people of the Central Dynasty? Are they courting death? Dong Yiming said angrily. They're courting death indeed. The inner demons stared at Dong Yiming and laughed sinisterly. Why are you staring at me? Dong Yiming panicked when he saw the red eyes of the inner demons. The one who killed their family members. Dong Tianqian sighed deeply and looked at Dong Yiming. It's your leader, Dong Qingyuan. What? Dong Yiming shook his head and said, that's impossible. The rest of the Death God army was also in disbelief. Dong Qingyuan was the leader of the Death God army and the king's trusted aide. How could he do such a thing? It's a long story. Dong Tianqian sighed. What the hell is going on? Is there a misunderstanding? Someone asked. They had left for the 4 great continents before Dong Qingyuan had self-detonated. Therefore, even if Dong Qingyuan's soul was still in the Central Dynasty, he wouldn't know about this. There's nothing to explain. Dong Qingyuan must die. Not even the emperor can save him. The inner demon spoke. Dong Yiming and the others felt a chill in their hearts. So they were going back to the Central Dynasty to kill the leader. Wait. Isn't the leader in the 4 great continents? Suddenly. Dong Yiming frowned. Why would Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng go back to the Central Dynasty to kill him? It seems that you didn't know that Dong Qingyuan left his soul in the Central Dynasty either. The inner demon sneered. The group of people looked at each other. Their leader had left his divine soul behind in the Central Dynasty. How could the leader do something so shameful and undignified? You must be surprised. The dignified leader of the Death God army is actually a coward. The inner demons laughed disdainfully. Dong Yiming was furious. Although he didn't know what was going on, as a subordinate, he wouldn't allow anyone to humiliate his master like this. What about me? I'm not convinced. I think you guys are jackals of the same tribe as him because you were all trained by him. The inner demons glanced at the group of people, his eyes full of mockery. Although you've lost your family, don't go too far. Someone said angrily. Too far. When Dong Qingyuan killed my family, didn't he think about whether he was going too far? The inner demon roared with an overbearing aura. I believe that the leader wouldn't kill your family for no reason. There must be a reason. Maybe there's something wrong with your family. Dong Yiming said in a deep voice. Say that again. The inner demons clenched his fists and stared at Dong Yiming like a beast. Dong Yiming felt a little guilty. The inner demon's aura was too strong, especially the invisible pressure that they exuded. Senior Commander, you've truly misunderstood Lu Yuntian. It's all Dong Qingyuan and Dong Laifu's fault. They're just innocent victims. Dong Tianqian sighed. Make it clear. Dong Yiming frowned. Lu Jiajin's eyes flashed. He looked at the group of people and said, take your time. We'll leave first. Also, I advise you not to step into the 4 great continents for now. After that, the two of them brushed past Dong Yiming and left without looking back. Looking at the arrogant attitude of the two of them, the group of people of the Death God army burned with anger. Was this the attitude of a junior? Dong Yiming took a deep breath and looked at Dong Tianqian. Tell me the details. Dong Tianqian nodded and told him how Dong Qingyuan and Dong Laifu set up a trap to frame Qin Feiyang and the others, and how they used the inner demons and Lu Jiajin. This, the 6,000 people of the Death God army looked at Dong Tianqian with their mouths agape. They never thought this was the truth of the matter. If Dong Tianqian hadn't said it himself, they wouldn't have believed that Dong Qingyuan would do such a thing. Then what did Lu Yunfeng mean by that sentence? Dong Yiming asked. What did he say? Dong Tianqian was suspicious. He said that it's best that we don't step into the 4 great continents for now. Dong Yiming said. He said that for your own good. Because of Dong Qingyuan, the people of the 3 races hate the central dynasty to the core. Dong Qingyuan even said in public that the central dynasty has been using the 3 races as cannon fodder. Think about it. What would you think if you and I were in his shoes? Dong Tianqian sighed. He said something like that. He's crazy. Dong Yiming was shocked. I think he's crazy. He's too full of himself. Although the central dynasty is superior to the 4 great continents, he doesn't have to say that. Even the emperor wouldn't dare to say something like that, let alone him. Dong Ping harumphed. Foolish, foolish. Dong Yiming shook his head and sighed. In his impression, Dong Qingyuan was a person with a sense of propriety. Why did he become so unwise after coming to the 4 great continents? If the emperor heard about this, he wouldn't let Dong Qingyuan off easily. Now that the divine kingdom was invaded by Qin Feiyang and the others, what they needed the most was unity. Now that Dong Qingyuan had made such a scene, the divine kingdom had fallen apart. At that time, many people were angrily shouting that they wanted to rebel against the central dynasty. If you enter the 4 great continents now, you'll be cursed by the 3 races and even beaten up. Dong Tianqian said. Then what should we do? Do we really have to go back? Someone frowned. I'm afraid we'll have to report this to the emperor first. Also, Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng will definitely settle the score with Dong Qingyuan when they return to the central dynasty. By then, the central dynasty will be in chaos because of them. Dong Tianqian was worried. Dong Yiming nodded and said, that's true. With such a deep hatred and their personalities, they won't let it go until they kill Dong Qingyuan. Anyway, this is our suggestion. It's up to you whether you want to go to the 4 great continents or not. Dong Tianqian said. He wasn't stalling for time for Qin Feiyang. He was stating a fact. In the current situation, if the people of the central dynasty set foot in the 4 great continents again, they would definitely become the target of the anger of billions of people in the 4 great continents. Although the Death God army was very strong and wasn't afraid of the people of the 4 great continents, they had to consider the consequences sometimes. The people of the 4 great continents were part of the divine kingdom. If they fell out completely and even rebelled, they wouldn't be able to bear the consequences when the emperor investigated. Commander, shall we go back first? Someone asked. Dong Yiming thought for a while, then turned to the people behind him and said, how about this? 10 of you stay here and the rest go back first. If Lu Yuntian and the others really make a scene, you can come out and stop them. After all, Lu Yuntian has the Demon King real body and the law of life and death. He can easily defeat 3,000 experts with the will of heaven. As for Lu Yunfeng, he also has the Eye of Void. If they really make a scene, the consequences will be unimaginable. The remaining 10 will follow me to the 4 great continents and secretly investigate the current situation of the 4 great continents so that we can be prepared. Dong Yiming was right. The inner demons had the Demon King real body and could summon 3,000 real bodies. His battle strength alone was equivalent to 3 people of the Death God army. Coupled with his law of life and death, it was a completely one-sided situation. So, even if the central dynasty had the ability to suppress the inner demons, they would still have to pay a heavy price. Then there was Lu Jiajin. The Eye of Void could make the ultimate profound meaning ineffective. Even the Death God army couldn't do anything about such a heaven-defying method. So, as long as something related to the inner demons happened, they had to be 120% alert and treat it seriously. This was the current status and deterrent force of the two. No one dared to ignore them. Okay. Then be careful. A middle-aged man in a black robe looked at Dong Yiming and warned. Don't worry, I won't show up. I'll just observe in the dark. Dong Yiming smiled. Okay. Let's go. The middle-aged man in a black robe waved his hand. The large group immediately followed Dong Tianchen and the other two and headed toward the inner demons and Lu Jiajin. Lu Jiajin and the inner demons hadn't gone far. They turned around and looked behind. What is Dong Yiming doing with those 10 people? The inner demons frowned. Who cares? As long as the large group doesn't go to the 4 great continents. Lu Jiajin smiled faintly. Qin Feiyang could easily kill Dong Yiming and the other 11 people. The inner demons laughed secretly. Speaking of which, Dong Tianchen and the other two have helped us a lot. If these 6,000 people really went to the 4 great continents, it would be a problem for Qin Feiyang and the others. As expected. I didn't say much before because I wanted the 3 of them to say it for me. Because it would be more truthful if the 3 of them said it, and Dong Yiming and the others wouldn't be suspicious. After all, the 3 of them were the direct descendants of the central dynasty. In short, the words that Lu Jiajin said to Dong Yiming before he left were equivalent to a fuse. Whether it was Dong Yiming's question or the 3's answer, it was all within his calculations. Chapter 4307. A few days passed. In the morning, the sun was shining brightly. Qin Feiyang accompanied Boss Ji as they sat by the river and fished. Looking at the calm water surface, Qin Feiyang suddenly revealed a smile. What are you smiling about? Boss Ji asked with a smile. The inner demons and big cousin have already entered the central dynasty. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. How do you know? Boss Ji was surprised. In the past few days, Qin Feiyang had been under his eyelids the entire time and had never left. Because I have a telepathic connection with the inner demons and can sense each other's presence. Just a while ago, the connection between us was suddenly cut off. This means that he has already entered the central dynasty. Qin Feiyang smiled. So that's the case. Boss Ji suddenly understood. The relationship between the inner demons and the original body was really strange. However, Qin Feiyang suddenly lowered his head and frowned. What's wrong? Boss Ji looked at him in confusion. Did they encounter the main forces of the central dynasty halfway? If they did the main forces follow the inner demons back? We can't ignore this. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered. If the main forces didn't return to the central dynasty, then he had to be fully prepared. Suddenly, he took out the divine voice stone. Buzz. Very soon, a shadow appeared. It was Ji Yunhai. Senior. Qin Feiyang stood up and bowed. You flatter me, you flatter me. Ji Yunhai hurriedly waved his hands. You're a senior, why don't you dare? Moreover, you're now the acting patriarch of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan, don't act like a coward. Boss Ji looked at Ji Yunhai's appearance and instantly reprimanded him angrily. Grandpa is here too? Ji Yunhai's expression changed. Yes. Qin Feiyang turned the divine voice stone slightly and Boss Ji appeared in front of Ji Yunhai. Grandpa. Ji Yunhai hurriedly bowed. Useless. Boss G snorted coldly and turned back to look at the bobbers on the water. Ji Yunhai smiled embarrassedly. Looking at Qin Feiyang, he asked, "When did you go to the village?" Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "After we separated at Thousand Phoenix Mountain that day, we came to the village. We have been living here all this time." "I see." Ji Yunhai nodded in realization. Boss G's face was cold. He didn't look at Ji Yunhai and said, "Hearing this, don't you feel ashamed?" "Ah." Ji Yunhai looked at Boss G suspiciously. What did he mean by that? He couldn't understand it at all. "Looks like you don't have any awareness." "Fine, I can't be bothered to talk nonsense with you." Boss G shook his head in disappointment. Ji Yunhai was as confused as a monk. It seemed like he hadn't provoked this old man during this period of time. Qin Feiyang looked at Boss G and smiled. "Great-grandfather, I'll go talk to him in private." Go. So that I won't be annoyed." Boss G waved his hand. Qin Feiyang brought the divine voice transmission stone and entered the tea garden in the Black Tortoise world. "What's going on with the old man?" Ji Yunhai finally dared to ask the reason. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Great-grandfather just wanted to say that you didn't come to visit them often." "So that's what happened." Then he could have just said it. Why beat around the bush? Ji Yunhai was helpless. "You can't blame great-grandfather for this. You and the monarch shouldn't talk about it. After all, you're busy with work." "But shouldn't Ryuko and Ji Shaoi come to visit often?" Qin Feiyang shook his head. Ji Yunhai was silent for a while and sighed. "To be honest, I've told Shaoi as well. But because of the Eye of Destiny being stolen, he's been angry, so." At this point, Ji Yunhai couldn't continue. He could only sigh. Qin Feiyang frowned and shook his head. It seems like he hasn't realized his mistake. If he had defeated Dong Xingyang in the test that day, I believe that Dong Xingyang wouldn't have any complaints about it. Maybe that's the difference between us. Let's not talk about this. Ji Yunhai waved his hand and asked, "Why did you send me a message?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded and said, "Send someone to the entrance of the Forbidden Ocean and help me keep an eye on the Central Dynasty." "Keep an eye on the Central Dynasty?" Ji Yunhai was shocked. "That's right. There are some things that we have to guard against. Most of the Central Dynasty's troops have probably already entered the Forbidden Ocean. If the inner demons and cousin can't persuade them to return, then we have to be fully prepared. So, send someone to keep an eye on the entrance of the Forbidden Ocean. This way, if they really come to the 4 great continents, then we can know their whereabouts immediately. But remember, you have to find a few smart people. Don't let them discover you." Qin Feiyang reminded. "Understood." Ji Yunhai nodded. "All right. Let me know immediately if you have any news." Qin Feiyang smiled. "Yes. Coincidentally, I also have something to say. Last time at the Thousand Phoenix Mountain, didn't I say that I would lay out my cards to the supremacies of the 3 races? These days, the Divine King, the supremacy of the human race, and I have been secretly observing them. Seeing that their dissatisfaction with the Central Dynasty is getting stronger and stronger, I think it's time to lay out my cards and explain everything to them." Ji Yunhai said. "Lay out my cards." Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and looked at Ji Yunhai. "How about this? Find a time and bring them to the village. We'll lay out our cards in front of a group of old men." "That's right. These old men are highly respected. With them in charge, this matter will definitely be easier." Ji Yunhai's eyes lit up. "Yes. In addition, these supremacies aren't idiots. The reason why they dare to stand up against the Central Dynasty is because they still don't know the foundation of the Central Dynasty. If we let them know, they might have other thoughts. So, we can't be careless about this matter. Qin Feiyang reminded. I understand. In any case, as long as we take a wrong step in the future, we'll definitely end up with our bodies crushed. Ji Yunhai nodded. Then, do you regret it now? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. Regret? Ji Yunhai smiled and shook his head. Don't look at my strength, I've never regretted any of the decisions I've made. Moreover, it was the central dynasty that went too far. If we don't resist now, what awaits us will be destruction. Then, what you did to the Sky Cloud domain and the Nether King's hell back then, don't you regret it? Qin Feiyang asked. Ji Yunhai fell silent. There's no harm in saying it. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. I don't regret it. After all, back then, we served different masters. Of course, if there's a chance in the future to make up for it, I'll try my best to do so. But I'm making up for it not because of the guilt in my heart, but because I want to resolve the grudge between Madman and me. Ji Yunhai said. Qin Feiyang took a deep look at Ji Yunhai. He's quite a character. He said with a smile, you and senior brother have already discussed the matter, hurry up and arrange it. Okay. Ji Yunhai nodded. The shadow quickly dissipated. Qin Feiyang also left the Black Tortoise domain and returned to the river. Done? Boss Ji asked. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded, sat on a small stool, picked up the fishing rod inserted into the ground, and said with a smile, I hope this time, I won't catch a big fish again. Who knows? Boss Ji chuckled. In the blink of an eye. A month had passed. At the entrance of the Taboo Ocean, 11 figures broke through the air like lightning. This is the East Continent. After leaving the Taboo Ocean, the 11 people stopped above the ocean and scanned the ocean in front of them, their eyes full of curiosity. It was Dong Yiming and his group. It was the first time they came to the 4 great continents, so everything here was very new to them. After a while, Dong Yiming withdrew his gaze and looked at the 10 of them. Remember, without my orders, you are not allowed to cause trouble. Moreover, from this moment on, you are to change your appearances and conceal your identities. You absolutely cannot expose our identities. Yes, Commander. The 10 people replied respectfully. The 11 people changed their appearances, put on ordinary people's clothes, and quickly left. But they didn't know. After they left, 2 old men silently appeared from the ocean below. Commander? What commander? One of the old men frowned. I don't know. But this acting patriarch does have some foresight. As expected, the Central Dynasty sent people to the 4 great continents again. The other old man sneered. To be honest, Ji Yunhai's performance was indeed surprising. I used to think that he was a very mediocre person. Are you kidding? How can he be mediocre as the king's brother? It's just that he didn't have a chance to show his strength because of the Heavenly Lord. But no matter what, the Heavenly Lord can't die in vain. The Central Dynasty must pay the price for this. Let's go back and report immediately. Murderous intent flashed in their eyes, then they opened a space-time passage and left without looking back. In the evening. In the village. Boss Ji and a group of old men sat at the entrance of the village, drinking tea. There were many small wooden stools next to them. Master Ji turned to Qin Feiyang and the other 2 and said with a smile, they should be here soon. Do you want to leave first? They're here to show their cards anyway. Is there a need to leave? Frenzy waved his hand indifferently. Boss Ji said, why don't we leave them for a while and see what their attitudes are? Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded and led the reluctant Frenzy and White-Eyed Wolf into Boss Ji's house. Then, they concealed their presence and silently looked through the window at the entrance of the village. Gradually, the sky was completely dark. A bonfire was lit at the entrance of the village, illuminating the night sky. Buzz! Suddenly, 3 space-time passages appeared in the sky one after another. The king, the divine king, and the supremes of the human race led Ji Yunhai and the other supremes out of the space-time passages. Except for the 3 supremes of the human race and the 10 supremes of the god race, everyone was present. The group of people looked at each other and smiled. They landed at the entrance of the village and bowed to the group of old men. Boss Ji and the other elders were all seniors from the previous era. They were already juniors. Moreover, Boss Ji and the others had already reached the pinnacle of their strength. Hence, they should be treated with respect, be it for public or private reasons. Chapter 4308. They're all here. No need to be so courteous. After all, you are all important figures of the current generation. If others saw you, wouldn't they laugh at you? Our place is simple and crude. You can just sit here. Boss G laughed hoarsely. What kind of big shot are we? In front of you, we are just little brats, worthless. The king smiled flatteringly. Stop flattering me. Boss G glared at him. Ha, the monarch laughed dryly. The others smiled at each other and sat around the bonfire. In the past, they were very afraid of these old people, but now that they had come into contact with them, they found that they were quite friendly. Master Ji Jiu cut to the chase and asked, "How's the situation in the 3 continents these days?" "Very bad." Upon hearing this, the monarch, the divine king, and the human race supreme being all looked worried. "What is it?" Ji Jiu frowned. "Ever since the incident with Dong Qingyuan, our hatred and disgust for the central dynasty has grown stronger with each passing day. I've even heard that some of us have secretly formed an alliance against the central dynasty." The king said. "That's a good thing." The Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan's Great Venerable spoke. "How is this a good thing? Do you know what will happen if the central dynasty learns of this?" The king said angrily. "Your Majesty. Don't tell me you're still working for the central dynasty and the sovereign lord. Just as Qin Feiyang said that day in Qingtian City, if this is the case, then you are blindly loyal." The Purple Gold Dragon God glared at the monarch furiously. "Great Venerable, what kind of attitude is this? Do you want to implicate our entire Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan?" Ji Yunhai rebuked. "I didn't. Not only that, I'm doing it for the good of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan. The Central Dynasty and the Sovereign Lord are no longer worth our lives. Moreover, the Heavenly Monarch can't die so unjustly. If you are still so stubborn, I believe that the Heavenly Monarch will not be able to rest in peace." The Purple Gold Divine Dragon closed his eyes in pain and clenched his fists tightly. His brows were filled with hatred. The other 9 venerables of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan also stood on the Great Venerable's side. The human clan's Great Venerable looked at the monarch and the others. After pondering for a long time, he sighed and said, "I've been thinking about this problem for the past few days. You can say that I've been unable to sleep at night. Everyone couldn't help but look at the human clan's Great Venerable. I'm thinking, why are we protecting the divine kingdom and working so hard for the Lord? Finally, I got an answer in my heart. The reason we protect the divine kingdom is actually to protect our people. We hope that they can continue to live happily. Working for the hegemon is actually the same as working for the fate of our 3 races. But now, the dignity of the people below is being trampled on. The fate of the 3 great tribes is also threatened. That's why I personally feel that we can no longer remain silent. We have to stand up and resist. We can't let down the trust that the common people have placed in us." The human clan's Great Venerable was so furious that he almost roared out the last sentence. "That's right. If we remain silent now, we don't have the right to continue sitting in this position. We don't have the right to have the people believe in us and respect us." The God Clan's Great Venerable spoke as well. The monarch, the divine king, and the autarchs exchanged glances. A hint of a smile flashed across their eyes. The situation was better than they had expected. Ji Jiao scanned the group, then looked at the other venerables of the human clan and the god clan. He asked, "Do you all think the same?" Yes. Everyone nodded. The hostility toward the central dynasty in their eyes came from the bottom of their hearts. But have you thought about how we should deal with the central dynasty's revenge if we really resist? Ji Jiao asked. The god clan's great venerable roared, "I don't believe that the combined strength of our three races can't resist the central dynasty." The monarch sighed. We really can't resist the central dynasty. Do you know how many experts there are in the central dynasty who possess the will of the heavens? I don't know. The god clan's great venerable shook his head. The other venerables also looked doubtful. Let me tell you. As far as I know, there are no less than 5,000 people in the central dynasty who possess the will of the heavens. The monarch said. What? That many? The venerable's eyes trembled. It was beyond their imagination. The total number of venerables of their three races didn't even exceed 100. How could they fight the central dynasty with so few people? That's only what we know. It said that the emperor has an army of reapers. The members of this army are all experts who possess the will of the heavens. No one knows the exact number, but it could be more than 5,000, 10,000, or even more. If we really resist, how are we going to fight them? I'm afraid that even if we sacrifice our lives, it won't be enough. The monarch sighed. The venerables fell silent. This was a number that made them despair. Are we just going to swallow this humiliation? Are we going to let the fate of our three races be in the hands of others? And the heavenly Lord's death? Are we going to let him die in vain? The eyes of the venerables of the purple-gold divine dragon race were filled with anger and unwillingness. The monarch took a deep breath and looked at the venerables. Give me a firm answer. Do you really want to resist? The venerables looked at each other and said in unison. Yes, we should fight for our fate. No regrets? The monarch asked again. No regrets. The group of venerables spoke forcefully. Very well. The monarch nodded and smiled coldly. As long as you have this attitude, I have a way to fight the central dynasty. What way? The venerables looked at the monarch expectantly. The monarch looked at Boss Ji and the others. Boss Ji understood. He turned to look at the house and said, "Come out." The venerables looked up. As the door opened, 3 familiar figures appeared in their line of sight. What are you doing here? The venerables stood up and looked at Qin Feiyang and the others in shock. I invited them here. The monarch said. Why did you do that? Did you forget that the heavenly Lord's death was also related to them? The venerables of the purple-gold divine dragon race were furious. Calm down. The monarch waved his hand and signaled them to sit down. The venerables held back their anger and killing intent and returned to their seats. Qin Feiyang and the others also walked over. We're all old friends. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. The venerables sneered. Who's old friends with you? The white-eyed wolf sighed. Seems like we're not welcomed here. How sad. We came to help you, but you rolled your eyes at us. Don't cry crocodile tears. Although we're prepared to fight the central dynasty, we've never thought about working with you. Someone scoffed. Can you deal with the central dynasty if you don't work with us? It's not that I'm looking down on you, but even if you command everyone from the 3 races, it won't be enough to deal with the central dynasty. The madman's face was full of disdain. You, the venerables stood up again and glared at the madman. You don't like to hear the truth. If you want to control your own destiny and protect your people, you have to work with us. There's no other choice. The madman sneered and took out a jar of divine wine. He walked to the bonfire and sat on the ground, drinking it happily. Monarch, Divine King, and Jizun, look at his attitude. Everyone looked at the three venerables angrily. Calm down, calm down. I'm the one who called them here. The Divine King and Jizun also know about this and agreed. If we want to fight back, I think it's necessary to work with Qin Feiyang and the others. The monarch said. But have you forgotten what they've done to the three races over the years? The purple-gold divine dragon frowned. Then tell me, what have they done to the three races? The monarch asked with a smile. Haven't they done enough? They killed the geniuses of the three races, destroyed the three sacred grounds, and caused chaos in the three continents. The great venerables said. But compared to the sea race and the beast race? The monarch asked again. Facing this question, the great venerables was speechless. The sea race and the beast race were directly wiped out. Although the three races did suffer some losses, compared to the sea race and the beast race, our losses are still considered losses. The monarch said. But, the great venerables wanted to refute, but he couldn't find a reason to. Because it was the truth. Compared to the sea race and the beast race, the three races were much luckier. Actually, Qin Feiyang and the others have been showing mercy to the three races over the years. Otherwise, we would have followed in the footsteps of the sea race and the beast race. The human race's Jizun sighed. That's right. It's also because of this that we decided to form an alliance with them. Anyway, their target is the central dynasty and the ruler. The enemy of an enemy is a friend. Moreover, Qin Feiyang is the daughter of the monarch and the descendant of Ji Tianyue. In other words, we are on the same side. If we don't cooperate with each other, who should we cooperate with? The Divine King said. It makes sense, but we have a deep hatred for them. The human race's great venerables frowned. Well, this junior would like to ask, what kind of deep hatred do we have? Did this junior exterminate your race or accidentally kill your loved ones? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile while looking at the human race's great venerables. The human race's great venerables were speechless for a while. The words deep hatred should be said by me. Because the hatred between us started when you invaded the Sky Cloud realm. Back then, when the Divine Kingdom invaded the Sky Cloud realm for the first time, how many people died tragically? I'm afraid it's not an exaggeration to say that the people were plunged into misery and suffering. Even the entire continent was beaten to the point of collapse. Such a big hatred, but I didn't even bother to argue with you. What are you arguing about? Qin Feiyang's eyes were cold, and the group of venerables was speechless. Chapter 4309. What? None of you are going to speak? That means what we said makes sense. To be honest, with the damage you caused to the Sky Cloud realm, even if we destroy you now, it will be hard for you to forgive your sins. So, you should thank us for being magnanimous and not arguing with you. The madman smiled coldly. The venerables glared at the madman. Although it was their fault to invade the Sky Cloud realm, there was no need to be so arrogant. Actually, it's not Senior Brother's fault. Because if you know Senior Brother's true identity, you will feel ashamed. Qin Feiyang said. What identity? Everyone was suspicious. Qin Feiyang said, Senior Brother is the reincarnation of the Blood Demon King. What? You are the reincarnation of the Blood Demon King. The group of venerables was shocked. Although they had all been to the Sky Cloud realm, they had heard of the name of the Blood Demon King. It was the Blood Demon King who led the Blood Demon race to the Nether King's hell to stop Ji Yunhai. Now you can understand. Senior Brother hates you to the bone, but for the overall situation, for the people of the Divine Kingdom, he is willing to let go of everything and cooperate with you to deal with the Central Dynasty. For Senior Brother to do this, it is enough to show his benevolence and generosity. But what about you? You're all clearly guilty people who deserve to be punished, yet you're here talking shamelessly about deep hatred. May I ask if you don't feel ashamed? Qin Feiyang's words were like pearls, making the group of venerables lower their heads in shame. Since we have said so, we don't want to say anything more. You can directly state your position. If you form an alliance with us, we will be comrades in the future, relying on each other and advancing together. If you don't form an alliance with us, of course, we won't deal with you like we dealt with the beast race and the sea race. But if you are in danger, don't say that we don't help you. After the white-eyed wolf finished speaking, he silently looked at the group of venerables, waiting for their decision. The group of venerables hesitated. This was really a difficult choice. If you want to rebel against the central dynasty, you have to work with them. Otherwise, we'll definitely oppose it. This matter involves too many things, and we can't gamble with the fate of the three races. The monarch, the divine king, and the supremes of the human race all expressed their opinions one after another. The god race great venerable frowned and said, "You mean, if you don't cooperate with Qin Feiyang and the others, you will continue to obey the central dynasty?" Not bad. The three of them nodded. How capable are they? Why are the three of you so confident? Do you think we can fight against the central dynasty with them around? The group of supremacies was puzzled. Capable? Haven't you seen what they are capable of? Let's not talk about that. Even if we only talk about the ultimate mysteries that they took from the sea beasts and beasts, it should be enough to boost our strength in a short period of time. The king said. The group of supremacies looked at each other. This was the truth. The great venerable of the god clan asked, "You mean that they will give us the ultimate Upanishad?" Yes. The monarch nodded. How is this possible? Will they be so generous? The supremacies shook their heads in disbelief. Regarding this matter, you have really underestimated them. Now that things have come to this, we will not hide it from you. In fact, they have already given us the ultimate Upanishad. The monarch said. What? Why didn't we know about it? The supremacies were bewildered. Because this matter is too important and you have already grasped the will of the heavenly Tao and no longer need to fuse with the inheritance, we did not tell you. It is also because of their sincerity that we decided to form an alliance with them. The monarch smiled faintly. He said this to avoid some trouble. Because if he said that they had already formed an alliance, the supremacies might use their endless imagination. After all, the power of a person's image was quite terrifying. This, the group of supremacies was stunned. The second supremacies of the god race asked, "How many?" Our three races each have 1,000. Each has 6 ultimate Upanishad of the ultimate Upanishad. A total of 18,000 ultimate Upanishad of the ultimate Upanishad of the ultimate Upanishad. The monarch smiled faintly. So many. The group of supremacies was shocked. They had never even heard of 3,000 inheritances. In the past, if they were able to obtain 1 or 2 inheritances, they could already burn incense to thank the gods. A total of 3,000 portions, what kind of concept was that? Moreover, they were all inheritances of ultimate profundities of the strongest laws. If they made good use of these inheritances, wouldn't the 3 great races be able to create a total of 5,000 to 6,000 experts with the will of the heavenly Tao in a very short period of time? In this way, the strength of the 3 races would instantly soar to an unprecedented level. Naturally, they would have more confidence in dealing with the central dynasty. The supreme martial artist of the human race took a deep breath and calmed the shock in his heart. He looked at the monarch and the other 2 and said, "So, the 3 of you have already accepted it? Wouldn't I be an idiot if I didn't accept such a great gift?" The monarch chuckled. Yes. Of course he had to. This was a good fortune delivered to his doorstep. Only a fool would reject it. The purple gold dragon god turned to look at Qin Feiyang and the other 2 and said, "If we say that we don't want to work with you now, will you take back these inheritances?" How can we take back a gift that we've already given out? Besides, no matter what, I'm also a descendant of the purple gold dragon race. It's my duty to help the purple gold dragon race. As for the god race and the human race, the divine king and senior supreme are both reasonable people. I'm willing to give them to them for free. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Hearing this, the supremacies had mixed feelings. They were clearly enemies, but they were willing to give for the three great races. Looking at their current behavior, how were they different from villains? It really made them feel ashamed. Especially the 10 supremacies of the purple gold dragon race. Qin Feiyang said that he was also a descendant of the purple gold dragon race and it was his duty to help the purple gold dragon race. This made the 10 supremacies feel extremely complicated. Was this Qin Feiyang's character? He was a classic example of repaying evil with kindness. Ancestors, what do you think about this matter? In the end, the 10 supremacies looked at Boss Ji and the group of elders. Master Ji Jiu chuckled and said, without our statement, would the monarch dare to accept the 1,000 inheritances from Qin Feiyang? The 10 supremacies understood. It turned out that they had already obtained the approval of these ancestors. Since even these old ancestors had agreed, what else could they say? All right. In the end, the 10 supremacies turned to look at Qin Feiyang and said, all right, we'll form an alliance with you. As soon as these words came out, whether it was Boss Ji and the group of elders, the monarch and Ji Yunhai, a smile appeared on their faces. Qin Feiyang was the same. Patriarch, what are you laughing at? Could it be that you already knew about this? The purple gold dragon race's great supremacies looked at Ji Yunhai suspiciously. Yes. Not only do I know, but I've also obtained a few ultimate inheritances. Soon, I'll be able to grasp the will of the heavenly Tao. Ji Yunhai nodded, seeming to be in a good mood. So, we venerables are the only ones who are kept in the dark. The great supremacies were stunned. We didn't mean to hide it from you guys. After all, this is a serious matter and we only dared to say it after you guys made your stand. After all, Old Wu and the other spies were a good lesson. Ji Yunhai smiled. All right. The 10 supremacies smiled helplessly. Seeing that the 10 supremacies of the purple gold divine dragon race had agreed, the divine king and the human supremacy could not help but turn to their subordinates and ask, what about you guys? The god race's great supremacy said with a bitter smile, if we still don't agree now, wouldn't we be heartless people? The other supremacies nodded one after another. However, there's something I'd like to say first. After we form an alliance, we must treat each other with sincerity and not plot against each other behind their backs. It's best if we can swear a blood oath. The god race's great supremacy said. That's right. Although it's a little childish, we have to swear a blood oath. This way, be it us or Qin Feiyang, you guys can truly trust each other. The human supremacy said. All right. Qin Feiyang nodded. Then let's begin. As the human supremacy stood up, the other supremacies also stood up. Qin Feiyang, the frenzied one, and the white-eyed wolf stood up as well. With the heavens as witness, today, the god race, the human race, and the purple gold divine dragon race form an alliance with Qin Feiyang and the other two. We will live and die together, advance and retreat together. If there's any disloyalty, may the heavens and earth destroy us. As soon as he finished speaking, oaths descended from the sky and entered their skulls. The boulder in the hearts of the three supremacies was finally lifted. As long as these supremacies nodded in agreement, it was basically a matter of course. Qin Feiyang looked at the three supremacies and said with a smile, Seniors, I'm sure you haven't unlocked the gate of potential yet, right? No. We don't even dare to tell them about the inheritance, let alone unlocking the gate of potential. The king shook his head and smiled. Gate of potential? What do you mean? The group of supremacies looked at Qin Feiyang and the king in surprise. You guys don't know, this kid can refine pills that can unlock the gate of potential. He has already given us a lot of them last time. The Divine King, Supremacy, second brother, and these old men have all unlocked the gate of potential. The king looked at the group of supremacies and smiled. The group of supremacies was shocked. There was actually such a pill in this world. He wasn't lying to them, right? Ji Yunhai stood up and took off the clothes on his chest. The potential imprint immediately appeared in front of everyone. The king and the human supremacy looked at each other and also showed their potential imprints. If Ji Yunhai was the only one who had unlocked the gate of potential, they wouldn't be convinced. However, all three of them had their potential imprints, so there was no need to doubt it. We old guys won't do such a childish thing. Chapter 43:10. Qin Feiyang looked at the expressions of the group of supremacies and a faint smile appeared on his face. With a wave of his hand, pills appeared one after another. Dragon-shaped pill energy lingered around them and rose into the air. This was what he had instructed Dan Wangkai to prepare before. What pills? The group of supremacies was suspicious. Before Qin Feiyang could speak, Ji Yunhai spoke first. This is the pill to unlock the door of potential. This is the pill to unlock the door of potential. The group of supremacies looked at the pills floating in front of Qin Feiyang, their eyes full of surprise. Was this for real? Was he playing with them? The king smiled and said, "These pills are obviously for you. Why don't you thank Qin Feiyang?" "Thank you, thank you." The group of supremacies thanked him repeatedly, but they still had a doubtful attitude. Qin Feiyang waved his hand again, and the high-grade Dominator weapon, Star Tower, appeared. Looking at the Star Tower, smiles appeared on the faces of the monarch and the others. Star Tower, God-slaying halberd, and Sky Extinction Sword were originally the high-grade Dominator weapons of the Dragon God, Neptune, and Yu Lao, but now they had all fallen into the hands of Qin Feiyang and the other two. This undoubtedly increased their strength by a large margin. Get ready to unlock the door of potential. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Okay. The group of supremacies nodded. Under Qin Feiyang's guidance, the group of people swallowed a potential pill one after another. The pressure of Star Tower surged out violently. Boom! In just a moment, the group of supremacies felt a heart-wrenching pain that swept through their bodies, as if their bodies were about to explode. But after all, they were experts who had mastered the will of the heavenly Tao. This bit of pain was nothing to him. Soon, a muffled sound exploded in the group of people's bodies, like thunder. Then, beams of divine light shot out from each of their chests. They took off their clothes to check, and there was indeed an additional potential mark on their chest. Furthermore, with the opening of the door of potential, they could clearly feel that their essence, energy, and spirit had undergone a great transformation, as if they had been reborn. Can it really unlock the door of potential? The scene was dead silent. The group of venerable ones looked at each other. This felt like a dream. Thank you very much. When they came to their senses, the group of people hurriedly stood up and looked at Qin Feiyang, cupping their hands and thanking him sincerely. This time, they finally believed that there was such a heaven-defying pill in this world. Now that we're allies, there's no need to be polite. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and smiled. He then set up a time formation under the feet of a group of venerables. Then, he continued to open the second gate of potential. The time formation was set up to allow the group of supremacies to recuperate midway. Moreover, it would save a lot of time. A moment passed. The gates of potential of the group of venerables were all opened. Feeling the changes in their bodies, the group of people was extremely excited. Because this kind of transformation was quite obvious. When they opened the gate of potential, they had a completely different mental appearance from when they opened the gate of potential. They were hale and hearty, their faces were rosy, and they seemed to have become a lot younger. They really didn't expect that by forming an alliance with Qin Feiyang and the other two, they could still get such benefits. For experts of their level, there were not many things that were worth pursuing because they didn't lack them. If you want power, you have status. If you want wealth, you have wealth. But the gate of potential was undoubtedly one of them. Now, you shouldn't regret your previous choice, right? The king chuckled. No, the group of people hurriedly shook their heads. Fortunately, they made this choice. If it weren't for the gate of potential, they would never be fated with it. In addition, I'm going to give you all a gift. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. What other gift? The group of people was full of anticipation. Qin Feiyang asked with a smile, you all should have only mastered the ultimate profound of the 6 strongest laws, right? Yes. The group of people nodded. Such strength is similar to the members of the Death God Army. In other words, seniors, your current strength is only equivalent to that of a member of the Death God Army. Qin Feiyang said. Indeed. The group of people frowned. Although they were very strong in the 4 great continents, they were not worth mentioning in front of the Central Dynasty. You are the supremacies of the 3 major races, representing the West Continent, the South Continent, and the North Continent, so you all still need to improve your strength. Now tell me what ultimate profound you lack, and I'll give them all to you. Free of charge. Qin Feiyang smiled. Really? The group of supremacies was overjoyed. How can I lie to you? I'll give them to you now. However, I can't help you with the laws of light and darkness and the laws of life and death. Qin Feiyang smiled. Don't worry, we won't be so greedy. In the entire divine kingdom, only you and Lu Yuntian have comprehended the laws of life and death. As for the laws of light and darkness, it's not that easy. The group of supremacies shook their heads and laughed. Time law, space-time law, karma law, devour law, death law, life law, destruction law, and nothingness law. These were the 8 ultimate laws apart from the laws of light and darkness and the laws of life and death. If one couldn't fuse the laws of light and darkness and comprehend the laws of life and death, mastering the 8 ultimate laws was the pinnacle. If one was lucky enough to fuse the laws of light and darkness, that would be the pinnacle. As for the laws of life and death, probably not many people in the world dared to think about comprehending this super law. So, mastering 9 ultimate laws was the limit. To be able to master 9 supreme laws of nature, one could basically be called invincible. Suppressing their excitement, the group of supremacies reported the ultimate profound they needed one after another. Qin Feiyang didn't go back on his words and gave them all the ultimate profound they needed. This made the group of people extremely excited. Not only did they open all the doors of potential, but they also obtained these ultimate profound laws. It was simply a heaven-defying fortune. Cough, cough. Ji Yunhai coughed and looked at the group of supremacies enviously. He had only obtained a few, just enough for him to grasp the will of heaven. However, he was too embarrassed to ask Qin Feiyang about this, because greedy people were the most annoying. Moreover, he hadn't been in contact with Qin Feiyang and the others for long, so he wasn't that familiar with them. Now you should be satisfied. Back then, we could have worked hard to get these pills and inheritances, but now, before you even asked, Qin Feiyang took the initiative to give them to you. The king pursed his lips. Ha! The group of supremacies laughed dryly. The great supremacy of the purple-gold divine dragon clan looked at the king and asked suspiciously, "May I ask, how many more things are you hiding from us?" About this. The king chuckled and said, "There are indeed quite a lot." The divine king and Jizun couldn't help but look at each other and smile. Ha! The group of supremacies looked at the 3 of them. Quite a lot. The king said, "First of all, the heavenly monarch is not dead. He's not dead. The 10 supremacies of the purple gold divine dragon clan were surprised. Yes. Last time, he was just faking his death. This is also our plan. Now, he is cultivating in seclusion in Qin Feiyang's Black Tortoise realm. The king chuckled. The group of supremacies was stunned. This news was simply too surprising. Faking his death. I don't understand, why did you arrange for him to fake his death? A supremacy of the God clan looked at the king in confusion. What else could it be? He doesn't want to continue being the patriarch of the purple gold divine dragon clan. The king snorted coldly. Ah! Everyone was stunned. If the world knew this reason, they would definitely not know whether to laugh or cry. The patriarch of the purple gold divine dragon clan was a high position and power that others could not even imagine, but this heavenly monarch Ji actually did not want to be the patriarch. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, actually, we also need him to fake his death. Need? Everyone was stunned. Yes. After all, he went to Blue Sun Mountain to kill us. If the inner demons and big cousin don't kill him, then this show will be very difficult to end. Qin Feiyang nodded. Blue Sun Mountain? Kill you? That can't be right. He went to Blue Sun Mountain to kill Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng's family. What does it have to do with you? Also, what inner demons? What big cousin? Who are these people? The group of supremacies was confused. They did not understand Qin Feiyang's words at all. Qin Feiyang and the others looked at each other and smiled. The inner demons and my big cousin are Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng, and the family members who died in Blue Sun Mountain are also our disguises. Qin Feiyang explained. What? Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng are your people? The so-called family members are all your disguises? The group of people trembled. Yes. Lu Yuntian is my inner demons, and Lu Yunfeng's real name is Lu Jiejin. He is my cousin. We pretended to be the inner demons and big cousin's family members in order to gain the central dynasty's trust. This way, when the inner demons and big cousin return to the central dynasty, they will be able to find out the specific situation of the Death God army. Qin Feiyang smiled. Gasp. All the venerables couldn't help but gasp after hearing this. Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng, who were feared by the 4 continents, were actually Qin Feiyang's people. And all of this was deliberately set up by Qin Feiyang and the others. It was too terrifying. No wonder the monarch, the divine king, and the supremes were so confident in Qin Feiyang and the others. They had spies in the central dynasty. Moreover, these 2 spies were both masters who made people tremble in fear. The inner demons and big cousin have already returned to the central dynasty. I believe that with their ability, they will soon find out the situation of the Death God army. Qin Feiyang looked up in the direction of the East continent and smiled. The group of supremacies also looked up and could not help but swallow. If there were such 2 terrifying guys lurking around them, this matter. Just thinking about it made their scalps tingle. At this moment, Ji Yunhai looked at Qin Feiyang and the other 2 and said, "It just so happens that I also have a piece of news to tell you." What news? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and looked back at Ji Yunhai suspiciously. Didn't you ask me to send someone to the Forbidden Ocean? When I returned, I immediately sent people to the Taboo Ocean to keep watch. In the end, I really discovered over a dozen unfamiliar faces coming out from the Taboo Ocean. Ji Yunhai said in a deep voice. How many? Qin Feiyang's pupils shrank and he hurriedly asked. 11. The leader is an old man. The other 10 people all call him Commander. Ji Yunhai said. Commander, Qin Feiyang, the madman, and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other. What kind of existence would be called a commander? Chapter 43:11. The king pondered for a while and looked at the three of them. Is Dong Qin in your hands? Do you want to ask her? Dong Qin is in your hands. The supremacies looked at the three of them in shock. Yes. When we captured Dong Laifu, we also captured Dong Qin. Qin Feiyang nodded. The group looked at each other. They were indeed a group of ruthless people. One of the 5 unparalleled geniuses of the Central Dynasty had been captured by them without anyone knowing. If the king hadn't said it, they would have thought that Dong Qin had returned to the Central Dynasty. Do you know what they look like? Qin Feiyang turned to Ji Yunhai and asked. They changed their faces when they entered the East Continent, but our people have seen their true faces. Ji Yunhai waved his hand and 11 figures appeared. They were Dong Yiming and the others. These people had come to the 4 great continents for the first time, so no one knew them. Even Boss Ji and the others had seen them for the first time. Did you see their clothes? There is a pattern of a sword on their chest. The king pointed at the clothes on their chests and said. There must be some meaning behind this pattern. Divine King whispered. Could it be the symbol of the Death God Army? The human supremacy said in surprise. Death God Army, Commander. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed and nodded. It's very likely. Because under normal circumstances, there wouldn't be such a title. Since someone from the Central Dynasty has entered the 4 great continents, we shouldn't stay here for too long. How about this, we'll go back first. You guys go investigate and inform us immediately if there's any news. Divine King looked at Qin Feiyang and the others and said. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded. It seemed that they couldn't stay in the village in the future, in case they were accidentally seen by the Death God Army. After the 3 races left, Qin Feiyang also got up and looked at Boss Ji and the others. He smiled and said, Great-grandfather, great-grandmother, we have to leave too. Understood. Be careful. Boss Ji reminded. I will. Qin Feiyang smiled and decisively opened a space-time tunnel. He walked in with the madman and the white-eyed wolf without looking back. 1000 Phoenix Mountain. This place had really been through a lot. That was because there had been many times when Qin Feiyang and the others had fought against others there. Whoosh! Under the night sky. 3 young men walked out of a space-time tunnel. They were Qin Feiyang and the other 2. After scanning their surroundings, the 3 of them directly entered the Black Tortoise world. However, what they didn't know was that there were 3 middle-aged men standing on top of a mountain not far away. As Qin Feiyang's group appeared, the 3 middle-aged men immediately looked at Qin Feiyang's group. It's them. His appearance is exactly the same as what we heard. Lord Commander's foresight is godly. As expected, the 1000 Phoenix Mountain is a place they often come to. One of the middle-aged men sneered. They should have gone to the Black Tortoise realm. Should I release my divine perception to search for them? Another middle-aged man asked. Don't. So as not to alert them. Let's inform the Lord Commander first. The 3rd middle-aged man spoke. Black Tortoise World. Soul Ceiling Valley. Qin Feiyang's group of 3 stood in the sky and looked down at Dong Qin, who was suppressed in the Soul Ceiling Valley. Dong Qin was also looking up at the 3 of them, her eyes filled with resentment. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and Dong Yiming's group of 11 appeared. When Dong Qin looked at Dong Yiming and the others, a trace of suspicion flashed across her face. However, when she saw the sword symbol on their bodies, her pupils shrank. This abnormality was clearly noticed by Qin Feiyang and he smiled. It seems that you know them. I don't. Dong Qin said coldly and then lowered her head in silence. Madman raised his eyebrows and grinned. It seems that you still don't understand your current situation. Isn't it just death? Dong Qin didn't even look at the 3 of them and said contemptuously. Madman immediately lost his temper. Because Dong Qin was indeed not afraid of death. A person who wasn't even afraid of death, what else would she be afraid of? Headache. What should they do to make this woman cooperate with them? Qin Feiyang said, "How about this, tell us what we want to know and we will let you go." "Do you think I will believe your nonsense?" Dong Qin sneered. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but frown and said in a deep voice, "Do you really want to force me to let Long Chen use the soul-controlling technique to control you?" Hearing the word soul-controlling technique, Dong Qin's heart tensed up. "During this period of time, I suppressed you in the soul-sealing valley and didn't control you, not because I sympathized with you, but because I didn't want to trouble Long Chen. So I advise you to cooperate. This way, you may have a way to live." Qin Feiyang said. Dong Qin finally looked up at Qin Feiyang, but she was furious and roared, "You are a demon." "Yes. I am a demon. As long as you fall into my hands, I can make you despair any time." Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered coldly. Dong Qin stared at Qin Feiyang, not to be outdone, but in the end, she was defeated. Anyway, she would tell the truth even if she was controlled by the soul-controlling technique, so she might as well say it herself, "They are from the Death God Army." "They are really from the Death God Army." Qin Feiyang and the other two looked at each other, and their pupils shrank. "But I don't know who they are, because I have never seen them before. That's all I know," Dong Qin said. A simple sentence almost made Madman and White-Eyed Wolf go berserk. As one of the 5 peerless geniuses, even if she didn't know the details of the Death God Army, she should know the old man in the lead. After all, he is the commander of the Death God Army. It's up to you to believe it or not, anyway, I am telling the truth. After saying this, Dong Qin fell silent again, and she didn't look at Qin Feiyang and the other two anymore. Qin Feiyang looked at Dong Qin for a moment, and then turned to look at Madman and White-Eyed Wolf and said, "She won't lie to us about this. Senior brother, go find Mu Qing and ask him to check the whereabouts of these people with the all-seeing eye." "Okay." Madman nodded, turned around, and opened the space-time tunnel to leave. Qin Feiyang lowered his head and pondered for a moment, and then returned to the tea garden with White-Eyed Wolf. "What are you thinking about?" Seeing Qin Feiyang sitting at the tea table with his head lowered and silent, White-Eyed Wolf couldn't help but ask in confusion. "I am thinking. Didn't you say that there is a large army? Why did only these 11 people come to the 4 great continents?" Qin Feiyang frowned. "It is a little strange." White-Eyed Wolf thought for a moment, and suddenly his eyes lit up, and he asked, "Is it related to the inner demons and big cousin?" "It should be." Qin Feiyang nodded. Because this was the only way to explain it. If this was the case, most of the Death God Army should have returned to the Central Dynasty. Whoosh! At this time, Madman flew through the air and landed in front of the tea table. He looked at Qin Feiyang and White-Eyed Wolf with a strange expression. "What?" The two were puzzled. Madman grinned and said, "You will never guess where these people are now." Qin Feiyang and White-Eyed Wolf looked at each other and fell into deep thought. Where could these people go after coming to the 4 great continents? Suddenly, White-Eyed Wolf asked, "Mount Supreme?" "No." Madman shook his head. "Island of Gods?" Qin Feiyang also asked. "No." Madman shook his head again. White-Eyed Wolf said, "Then there is no doubt, it must be the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan." "Wrong." Madman grinned. "Is that wrong?" White-Eyed Wolf was stunned. Wasn't it most likely that the people of the Central Dynasty came to the 4 great continents to find the Divine King and the others? Qin Feiyang couldn't be bothered to guess anymore and urged, "Don't keep us in suspense, tell us." 8 of them are in Qingtian City. The other 3, at this point, Madman smiled playfully and said, "Far away in the horizon, close in front of us." Far away in the horizon, close in front of us? Qin Feiyang and White-Eyed Wolf looked at each other and suddenly shivered. Thousand Phoenix Mountain. Yes. These three are in Thousand Phoenix Mountain. After all, they are hiding on a mountain peak not far from us. Madman chuckled. White-Eyed Wolf said in surprise, then when we came to Thousand Phoenix Mountain, we were already seen by them. That's right. And they have already informed the 8 people in Qingtian City. Madman nodded. How strange. White-Eyed Wolf was puzzled. Why are they in Qingtian City and Thousand Phoenix Mountain? I think they should have found out that we often appear in Thousand Phoenix Mountain and Qingtian City, so they are waiting for us in these 2 places. Qin Feiyang guessed. You're pretty smart. White-Eyed Wolf chuckled and looked at Madman. Is that commander in Thousand Phoenix Mountain or Qingtian City? He is in Qingtian City. And previously, he sent a message telling the 3 from Thousand Phoenix Mountain not to alarm us and just to keep an eye on us. Madman said. Huh, it seems that they already know our methods and don't dare to fight us head-on. White-Eyed Wolf laughed strangely. That's about it. Madman nodded and looked at Qin Feiyang and Madman. He teased, how about it? Do you want to give them a surprise? Of course. Qin Feiyang smiled. This was prey that had delivered itself to their doorstep. Moreover, these people were all members of the Death God army, and there was even a commander among them. As long as they captured them, they would definitely be able to find out the exact situation of the Death God army. White-Eyed Wolf said, since that's the case, we have to capture the leader first. Let's go to Qingtian City and capture that commander first. No. There are too many people in Qingtian City. If a battle breaks out and they are implicated, Jizun will definitely settle the score with us. Let's capture these 3 first. As for the other 8, we will think of a way to lure them over. Qin Feiyang smiled. All right. White-Eyed Wolf nodded. Jizun might seem amiable usually, but his temper was extremely fiery. Once they provoked him, they would definitely be beaten up. Although their current strength was not weaker than Jizun, the other party was still an elder. Juniors beating up their elders? How improper would that be? Therefore, it was better not to provoke him. Let's go. Qin Feiyang stood up and directly activated the concealment technique. Together with Madman and White-Eyed Wolf, they silently appeared in the sky above Thousand Phoenix Mountain. Madman glanced at the surrounding mountains and pointed at a mountain peak not far away. He smiled slyly and said, Look, they are standing there. Chapter 43:12. On top of the mountain. 3 burly men stood silently under the night sky like ghosts. Their eyes were locked on the void where Qin Feiyang and the other 2 had disappeared. One for each. The White-Eyed Wolf transmitted his voice. No problem. The madman smiled. Of course, he was also transmitting his voice secretly. Soon. Qin Feiyang and the other 2 fell behind the 3 burly men. The 3 middle-aged men didn't notice that there was someone behind them. They didn't sense any danger. Because Qin Feiyang and the other 2 not only restrained their aura, but also didn't show any killing intent. In this way, no matter how strong one's perception was, they wouldn't sense any danger. Do it. Qin Feiyang shouted in a low voice. The 3 of them attacked at the same time and slapped the backs of the 3 burly men. Boom! At this moment, killing intent erupted. A terrifying aura and the terrifying power of the laws also emerged. The 3 middle-aged men were shocked. But at this time, they had no time to dodge or counterattack. Puff! Accompanied by a mouthful of blood, the 3 of them flew out from the top of the mountain like meteorites and smashed into a giant mountain on the opposite side. Their faces were as pale as paper. Their sea of qi had been shattered. Boom! With a loud sound, the three of them smashed into the giant mountain on the opposite side. The giant mountain was shattered. The three of them were seeing stars and their blood was boiling. What's going on? Someone can sneak behind us without us noticing. In the dust, the three of them were full of horror. Who do you think you are? How dare you spy on us? A mocking laugh sounded. Three figures stepped into the air step by step and entered the sight of the three. Qin Feiyang. Madman Mo. Golden-winged Wolf King. The three of them changed their expressions. What's going on? How did Qin Feiyang and the other two know that they were hiding here? And these days, they had been changing their faces and hiding their names in the 4 continents. They had never revealed their identity to anyone. Even the monarch, the divine king, and the human race didn't know. In other words, they were now equivalent to 3 ordinary people. If they were ordinary people, why would Qin Feiyang and the other 2 sneak attack them from behind? When they came back to their senses, the 3 of them jumped up and fled without looking back. Qin Feiyang and the other 2 exchanged a smile. His Qi had already been shattered, and he still wanted to escape. White-eyed Wolf activated momentary time and stepped in front of the 3 of them. With his energy reserve shattered, he could not activate the momentary time. Naturally, his speed could not be compared to the White-eyed Wolf's. When the middle-aged man and the other 2 saw this, they immediately turned around in horror and fled to the other side. The madman chuckled and also activated the momentary time, blocking in front of the 3. The 3 of them turned pale again and prepared to flee in another direction, but when they looked back, Qin Feiyang was already behind them. What are you doing? We have no enmity with you. Why are you plotting against us? The 3 of them roared in anger. No enmity. The white-eyed wolf paused for a moment and asked jokingly, then why are you spying on us here? Spying? The 3 of them looked at each other and shook their heads at the white-eyed wolf. What spying? We don't understand. We were just preparing to hunt here. We didn't know that the 3 of you were here. They thought that Qin Feiyang and the other 2 did not know their identities, so they wanted to pretend to be stupid and get away with it. At this moment, they were not wearing the Death God Army's uniform, so they felt that Qin Feiyang and the other 2 must not know their identities. The reason why they were plotting against them was probably because they found out that they were spying on them. Hunting? Then the prey is us. The madman looked at the 3 of them playfully. No, no. We are here to hunt beasts. We have no intention of offending you. Please be magnanimous and let us live. Yes. We really didn't know that the 3 of you were cultivating here. If we knew, we wouldn't have dared to come to Thousand Phoenix Mountain. The 3 of them knelt in the air and begged with snot and tears. If they did not know their identities in advance, they would have been fooled by them. Qin Feiyang and the other 2 looked at each other and did not say anything. They just silently watched the 3 of them play dumb. We are really sorry, Lord Qin, you are a good person. Please spare us this time. We swear that we will never come to Thousand Phoenix Mountain again. The 3 of them looked at Qin Feiyang and tried to curry favor with him. Do you know who we are? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. Of course I know. Who in the 4 great continents doesn't know of the 3 of you? Moreover, the 3 of us have always respected the 3 of you. Seeing Qin Feiyang's pleasant expression, the 3 of them thought that they had deceived Qin Feiyang, so they worked even harder to win his favor. Respect us? You must be kidding us. You are from the Divine Kingdom, and we are invaders of the Divine Kingdom. You still respect us invaders? The white-eyed wolf said with a playful smile. Even he had to admit defeat to the ability of the 3 of them to lie without batting an eyelid. Yes. The 3 of you are indeed not from the Divine Kingdom, but what you have done is admirable. The God race, the human race, the purple gold divine dragon race, the oceanic race, and the beast race are all overlords of our Divine Kingdom. However, the oceanic race and the beast race were all wiped out by you in a single day. The human race, the god race, and the purple-gold divine dragon race all trembled in fear when facing you. With such means and courage, it is no exaggeration to say that you are the gods that we look up to. The three of them flattered the three of them. The white-eyed wolf grinned and said, "Not bad, not bad. Although I know that you are flattering us in order to survive, it is indeed pleasant to hear. We are not flattering you. What we said is the truth. If you don't believe me, you can ask around. Many young people nowadays regard you as their idols." The three of them also laughed. They thought that they were smart, but it turned out that they were so easy to fool. Really? The white-eyed wolf seemed to be very happy. More real than real gold. The three of them nodded. All right. You guys can go. The white-eyed wolf waved his hand. Thank you, Lord Wolf King. The three of them were wild with joy and got up to leave. However, the next moment, they couldn't help but be stunned. Because Qin Feiyang and the other two didn't make way. Three lords, what are you doing? The three of them were puzzled. The white-eyed wolf said, "Didn't I tell you to go? Why are you still asking? But if you don't make way, how can we go?" The three of them had a bitter expression. The white-eyed wolf frowned and said, "I am a little puzzled. There are roads in all directions. Do you have to pass by us?" "Yes, yes, yes." The three of them nodded and flew into the sky. Schwa! Lunatic took a step forward and crossed the sky. The three of them froze and flew down again. Qin Feiyang also activated momentary time and crossed the sky. Three lords, what do you want to do? The three of them were about to cry. Didn't they say that they would let them go? The white-eyed wolf grinned and said, "I told you to go, and you dare to go. What else?" The three of them asked with a sobbing tone. The white-eyed wolf mocked, "You guys are quite good at acting, but unfortunately, we already know your identity." The three of them were shocked and hurriedly said, "We are just ordinary people. What identity can we have? There must be some misunderstanding." The white-eyed wolf took out 3 pills and asked, "Then do you dare to take them?" The middle-aged man and his 2 companions looked at the facial restoration pill, their faces filled with panic. Did he really know their identity? But how was that possible? Their identity had always been kept a secret. This time, a total of 11 people from the Death God army came, and one of them is a commander. Now, this commander and 7 others are in Qingtian City. Am I right? The white-eyed wolf looked at the 3 of them with a mocking expression. The 3 of them were extremely shocked. Not only did he know their identity, but he also knew how many of them came and even knew about the existence of the commander. What was going on? It was as if Qin Feiyang and the other 2 had seen it with their own eyes. Wait. Could it be the omniscient eye? That wasn't right either. The omniscient eye was indeed heaven-defying, but there was a prerequisite. The prerequisite was that he must know the other party's name or appearance. This was the first time they came to the 4 great continents, and they had already changed their appearances after leaving the taboo ocean. How could Qin Feiyang and the others know their names or appearance? Are you wondering why we know so much about it? The white-eyed wolf asked with a smile. The middle-aged man and the other 2 remained silent. The white-eyed wolf clenched his fist, and the face-restoring pill in his hand shattered. He sneered and said, "Because we already knew that the Central Dynasty would send people again, so we set up spies at the entrance of the taboo ocean." What? The 3 of them trembled. Now you understand. The moment you entered the 4 great continents, we already knew your identity. The white-eyed wolf said. If that was the case, the middle-aged man and the other 2 wouldn't suspect the 3 races. Then why did you not care about us these days? The 3 of them asked in a deep voice. Because we did not take you seriously at all. Even if there were thousands of you, we would still be able to squash you like a bunch of ants, let alone a dozen of you. Unfortunately, you did not have eyes and came to spy on us. Aren't you courting death?" As the white-eyed wolf finished speaking, a monstrous murderous aura erupted and rushed toward the three of them. Terrifying. It's really too terrifying. No wonder even the leader, Lu Yuntian, Lu Yunfeng, and the 5 unparalleled geniuses were defeated by these three. Run! The three of them trembled both physically and mentally. This was their first official encounter, and they felt an unprecedented fear. As one of the three of them roared, a terrifying blood aura rushed out of their bodies, and the void instantly turned into a sea of blood. The next moment, a scene that shocked Qin Feiyang and the other two appeared. The shattered qi seas of the middle-aged man and the other two were instantly restored to their original state. Then, they activated their ultimate intents, and the will of the heavenly Tao erupted. Immediately, the ultimate intents charged toward Qin Feiyang and the other two. At the same time, they also activated the moment of time and escaped without looking back. Chapter 43:13. What's going on? Qin Feiyang and the other two looked at each other with shock in their eyes. Their shattered sea of qi had recovered so quickly. However, although they were shocked, they weren't dazed. After all, they had experienced all kinds of storms in the past few years. Clang! The three of them took out their sovereign weapons. Star Tower, God-slaying halberd, Sky Extinction Sword. The three sovereigns attacked. The three sovereigns' ultimate intents were unable to resist and were instantly shattered. This was the killing power of a high-grade sovereign weapon. Even if they had the ultimate intents of the heavenly Tao, they could still crush them. To deal with a high-grade sovereign weapon, unless one had 3,000 incarnations, the sword of all evil, or the heaven-devouring beast, anyone would have to kneel and beg for mercy. This is, Yu Lao, Neptune, and the dragon god's high-grade sovereign weapons are in their hands. It seems like they've already met with misfortune. The three sovereigns' expressions changed, and they tried even harder to escape. Humph! Qin Feiyang and the other two stared at the backs of the three sovereigns, killing intent flashing in their eyes. With a cold snort, the three high-grade sovereign weapons flew out of their hands, crushing the void and the earth as they pressed down on the three sovereigns. Ah! With a scream, the bodies of the three sovereigns exploded, and blood dyed the sky red. Their divine souls still wanted to escape, but they were surrounded by the Star Tower's three sovereign weapons. The terrifying sovereign aura made them tremble. Qin Feiyang and the other two walked over, but they didn't put away the three sovereign weapons. They were worried that the three sovereigns would suddenly reform their bodies and catch them off guard. Yu Lao, Neptune, and the dragon god, did they die in your hands? The three sovereigns gloomily stared at Qin Feiyang and the other two sovereigns. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said, "Didn't Dong Tianqian know? Didn't he tell you?" The three exchanged glances. When they met in the Forbidden Ocean, Dong Tianqian really did not mention this matter. I don't think there's a need to ask such a stupid question. Even their sovereign divine weapon has submitted to us. What kind of ending would they have? In comparison, I'm more interested to know what method you used to instantly repair your qi si. Qin Feiyang looked at the three of them curiously. This should be a method. Furthermore, it was a technique that the Death God Army possessed. This meant that the members of the Death God Army should all have such means. Kill us. There was no fear in their eyes. As members of the Death God Army, they were already prepared to face death with equanimity. You're being naive again. Now that you've fallen into our hands, it'll be hard for you to even die. Madman laughed mockingly. Hearing this, the three of them trembled. If they were directly given death, they wouldn't mind. However, if he were to deprive them of their ultimate meaning or use soul-controlling techniques to control them, it would be a fate worse than death. The white-eyed wolf smiled and said, "Let's go. Bring them to the black tortoise boundary and find little Chen." As long as they could control them, it would be very easy to lure Dong Yiming and the others out of Qing Tian City. "We won't let you succeed." The three of them roared and destroyed their own divine souls. Fortunately, the three sovereign divine weapons reacted quickly and suppressed the three of them in time. "You're really not afraid of death?" Madman frowned. Why did the members of the Death God army look like death warriors? "No. If you're still men, kill us now." The three of them roared. No matter what, they couldn't be controlled by Long Chen's soul-controlling technique. However, would such a small trick like provocation work on Qin Feiyang and the other two? Obviously, it was useless. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and swept up the three's divine souls. He then brought Madman, the white-eyed wolf and the three sovereign divine weapons into the Devil Land. Seeing Qin Feiyang and the others coming again, Long Chen expressed his helplessness. He looked at the three of them and said, "Do you want me to give you the soul-controlling technique? Give it to us." The white-eyed wolf was slightly stunned and laughed. "Of course, we're happy to." "In your dreams." Long Chen rolled his eyes. Soon, the middle-aged man and the others were controlled by Long Chen. Qin Feiyang did not disturb Long Chen and returned to the tea garden. "Tell me, how many of you came this time?" Qin Feiyang sat at the table and asked the three of them. The three of them answered honestly, including the commander, "There are a total of 5,001 people." "So many?" The white-eyed wolf and Madman were drinking wine. Their expressions froze when they heard this. "All of you have grasped the will of the heavenly Tao?" Madman quickly asked. "Yes." The three of them nodded. "I'll go." Madman was shocked. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf were not much better. They never expected that there would be 5,001 people, and all of them had mastered the will of the Great Path. Qin Feiyang came back to his senses and asked, "What about the others?" The three of them said, "They followed Lu Yuntian and the others and have returned to the Central Dynasty." Qin Feiyang and the other two looked at each other. The inner demons and big cousin were really something. If these 5,000 people really came to the four great continents, it would be a disaster. "How many people are there in the Death God army?" Qin Feiyang asked. "I don't know." The three of them shook their heads. "What? You don't know?" Qin Feiyang and the other two were stunned. What was going on? The three of them were all members of the Death God army. How could they not know how many members there were? The three of them said, "We are just ordinary members. We only know that there are 10 teams in the Death God army." 10 teams? Qin Feiyang and the other two were stunned. "Yes. There are a total of 10 teams, and we belong to the 10th team. The reason why we don't know the situation of the other 9 teams is because the 10 teams have always been separated and don't interfere with each other." The three of them said honestly. The crazy one asked, "You mean that the 10th team has 5,000 members?" "No. The 10th team has 10,000 members, and only half of them came to the four great continents." The three of them said. "Damn!" Qin Feiyang, the crazy one, and the white-eyed wolf's eyes trembled. The 10th team alone had 10,000 members. In other words, there were 10,000 experts who had mastered the will of the Great Path. If one team had so many members, then what about the other 9 teams? They didn't dare to think about it. It seemed that the foundation of the Death God army was far beyond their imagination. The crazy one was unwilling to believe it. He looked at the three of them and asked, "You really don't know the exact number of people in the other 9 teams?" "We really don't know. Not to mention us, even Dong Yiming doesn't know." The three of them shook their heads. "Who is Dong Yiming?" Qin Feiyang and the other two were suspicious. One of them said, "Dong Yiming is the commander who brought us to the four great continents." "I see. Qin Feiyang nodded and said with a frown, since he's the commander, how can he not know the situation of the other teams? He's only the vice commander of the 10th team. He doesn't have enough authority. The only people who really know the situation of the 10 teams are the emperor, the ruler, the leader, and the commanders of the 10 teams. The three of them spoke one after another. Qin Feiyang frowned and said, then, did the commander of the 10th team come this time? He didn't come. This time, Dong Yiming led the team. However, if even we can't kill you, the Death God army will send at least 2 teams to kill you. The three of them said. The crazy one's pupils shrank and he muttered, they really think highly of us. Not to mention 2 teams, even if it was only the 10th team, as long as the 10,000 members all came to the 4 great continents, it would be enough to make them suffer. Because now, in the Black Tortoise world, other than Qin Feiyang, the Crazy One, the White-Eyed Wolf, and Long Qin, no one else had grasped the will of the heavens. Even if Qin Feiyang and the other 3 had heaven-defying means, they would have to retreat in the face of 10,000 experts who had grasped the will of the heavens. Unless the king and the others helped. If it was 2 teams, they would need the help of Boss G and the others. Because this group of old people not only grasped the will of the heavens, but they also had 3,000 incarnations. One of them had the combat power of 3,000 people. But even if they could defeat 2 teams, what was the use? Because the Death God army had a total of 10 teams. If they defeated a team, there were still 8 teams. When the members of the 8 teams all came to the 4 great continents, even if Qin Feiyang and the 3 races tried their best, they would still die. The strength of the Death God army has seriously exceeded our expectations. The Crazy One sighed. Yeah. Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf nodded with a heavy expression. If they didn't know, they wouldn't be so stressed. But now that they knew the general situation of the Death God army, they felt like a huge rock was pressing on their hearts. Should we tell the king and the others? The Crazy One asked. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and shook his head. It's better not to tell them for now. I agree too. If they know about this situation, they will probably be on tenterhooks and tremble in fear every day. Let's bear this pressure ourselves first. The White-Eyed Wolf took a deep breath. Even they almost couldn't bear this news, let alone the king and the others. Because the king and the others were already very afraid of the ruler of the Divine Kingdom, if they knew about the Death God army now, they would definitely be terrified and worried. This would be very bad for the future situation. The Crazy One let out a breath and looked at Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf. He asked, since Dong Yiming also doesn't know about the situation of the other 9 teams, should we still hunt him? Of course. Qin Feiyang nodded. His eyes flashed as he said in a deep voice, now, we have to obtain more ultimate intents. After robbing the beast race and the oceanic race twice, they had obtained more than 110,000 ultimate intents. They had given 3,000 to the 3 races, 6,000 to the Shadow Guards, and the ultimate intents given to Mu Tianyang and the others. In total, they had used about 55,000 ultimate intents. This meant that there were still more than 50,000 inheritances in their hands. However, these 50,000 plus inheritances could only nurture 9,000 people. 9,000 people and 6,000 Shadow Guards were enough to deal with 1 team, but they were still far from enough to deal with 10 teams of the Death God army. Chapter 43:14. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while, looked at the White-Eyed Wolf and said, take them to reconstruct their bodies. Why are you still helping them reconstruct their bodies? Directly deprive them of their ultimate profound. The White-Eyed Wolf frowned. Qin Feiyang said, if they don't have their bodies, how can they help us lure out Dong Yiming and the others? That's right. If we don't help them reconstruct their bodies, or deprive them of their ultimate profound now, when Dong Yiming and the others see it, they will definitely be suspicious. Madman nodded. All right. The white-eyed wolf led the three of them to Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess courtyard. Madman looked at the backs of the middle-aged man and sighed, "Old Qin, now we have to seize the time to cultivate talents." "Yes. At present, we still have more than 50,000 ultimate profound of the strongest law, we can cultivate more than 9,000 people, but where can we find these people?" Qin Feiyang frowned. There were indeed many creatures in the Black Tortoise realm, but there weren't many who had stepped into the sovereign realm. There were quite a few from the three major races. Moreover, if the people of the three major races could maximize the value of these inheritances. Because the three major races had many people who had mastered one or two ultimate profound of the strongest law, if they were to cultivate them, they could save a lot of inheritances. However, among the three major races, except for the monarch, the divine king, and Jizun, the others weren't really close. He always felt that it wasn't worth it to cultivate them. So, even if it was to cultivate, Qin Feiyang also wanted to cultivate the people around him. "Why don't we return to the Sky Cloud realm?" Madman asked. In the Sky Cloud realm, there were many creatures in the sovereign realm. Not to mention the dragons, the Feng people, the Kiran race, even the human race, the beast race, and the sea beast race were a lot. "Return to the Sky Cloud realm," Qin Feiyang murmured. The gate to the divine kingdom was sealed in the land of origin and could be unsealed at any time. And now, the ruler of the divine kingdom was being held back by the ice dragon and the small beast. The three major races had already formed an alliance with them, so it was not impossible for them to return to the Sky Cloud realm. However, Qin Feiyang had a doubt in his mind. What if the gate of the divine kingdom secretly caused mischief and cut off the connection between the divine kingdom and the Sky Cloud realm? How could they return to the divine kingdom? If that really happened, they would lose the initiative that they had fought so hard for. Because if the gate of the divine kingdom was secretly causing trouble, they would not be able to return to the divine kingdom. However, the people of the central dynasty could descend upon the Sky Cloud realm at any time. At that time, the Sky Cloud realm would become a battlefield again. In the past, the three major races had already plunged the Sky Cloud realm into misery and suffering, not to mention the Death God army of the central dynasty. Once the Death God army arrives, the Sky Cloud realm will be destroyed in minutes. This bet was too risky. Unless they could control or persuade the gate of the divine kingdom to help them. But whether it was control or persuasion, there seemed to be little hope. Because if they had the ability to control the gate of the divine kingdom, they would have already done so when they first entered the divine kingdom. After pondering for a moment, Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and two figures appeared in front of him. It was Pai Lupi and Theta Wang. "How's your cultivation?" Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. The two looked at each other and smiled, saying, "We have already integrated 2 inheritances. Not bad. You're quite efficient." Qin Feiyang nodded and said with a smile. The two rubbed their heads, looking charmingly naive. Qin Feiyang said, "Help me investigate something first." "What is it?" The two were suspicious. Qin Feiyang said, "Check how many rulers have been born in our Black Tortoise realm." "Okay." Pai Lupi and Theta Wang nodded and immediately turned to leave without asking for the reason. A moment later, the white-eyed wolf returned with the middle-aged man and the other two. Their bodies had been reconstructed. Their bodies didn't change much, and they were still burly, but their appearances were completely different. Because now, they had recovered their true appearances. Qin Feiyang stood up and appeared in the sky above the shattered mountain range with the three, the mad scientist, and the white-eyed wolf. Then, he looked at one of them and took out an illusory form pill, ordering, "Go to Qingtian City now and bring Dong Yiming and the others to Thousand Phoenix Mountain." "Yes." The person nodded respectfully, took the illusory form pill, and changed back to his previous appearance. Then, he opened a time passage and left. Because the divine sound transmission stone had been shattered along with their bodies, they could only go personally. The white-eyed wolf asked, "What method did you use to instantly repair your chi-si?" "It's a forbidden technique called the regeneration technique. Not only can it repair the chi-si, but it can also repair the shattered body. However, it can only be activated once a day, and it requires a certain price, using one's chi and blood as a guide and burning one's vitality." The two answered truthfully. "So that's how it is." The three of them were enlightened. Could it be that they didn't activate the regeneration technique after their bodies were shattered? It turned out that it could only be activated once a day. The mad scientist asked, "Everyone in the Death God army has mastered the regeneration technique?" "Yes." The two nodded. The mad scientist was puzzled. Then why didn't Dong Lifu and Dong Qingyuan master the regeneration technique? Because when they fought, Dong Lifu and Dong Qingyuan didn't activate the regeneration technique. The regeneration technique can only be obtained by the members of the Death God army. Dong Lifu is Dong Qingyuan's servant, not a member of our Death God army. As for Dong Qingyuan, he's going to self-destruct anyway, so there's no need to activate the regeneration technique. The two said. Dong Lifu is not a member of the Death God army? Qin Feiyang and the other two looked at each other. This was a little surprising. At the same time, Qingtian City. In a restaurant. Dong Yiming and the others had changed their appearances and sat around a table. They silently drank wine while listening to the discussions of the guests around them. The topic of discussion in the four great continents was naturally the shady business that Dong Qingyuan had done. Dong Yiming and the others could clearly hear that no one was hiding anything from the central dynasty. Sigh. I really didn't expect our leader to do such a stupid thing. Someone couldn't help but sigh secretly. A good hand was ruined by their leader. Our leader is indeed a little inconsiderate in this matter. But according to our understanding of our leader, he doesn't seem to be someone who doesn't know his limits. Is there even a need to think about it? He must have been angered by Qin Feiyang and the others and lost his mind. These little bastards are really capable. Just as the group of people were secretly discussing, a middle-aged man silently walked in. "Sir, this way please." A waiter hurriedly went up to welcome him. The middle-aged man waved his hand and said, "I'm looking for someone." After saying that, he scanned the hall and soon saw Dong Yiming and the others. Then, he walked straight over. Seeing this, the waiter ignored him. When Dong Yiming noticed the middle-aged man, he couldn't help but be slightly stunned. When the middle-aged man walked closer, Dong Yiming transmitted his voice, "Didn't I ask you to keep an eye on Thousand Phoenix Mountain? What are you doing here in Qingtian City? There's a change in Thousand Phoenix Mountain." The middle-aged man whispered. "What?" The 8 people's expressions changed slightly and asked, "What change?" "You'll know when you get there." The middle-aged man didn't say it very clearly because if he did, he would give himself away. After saying this, the middle-aged man opened a space-time passage and looked very anxious. He didn't want to give Dong Yiming and the others time to think. Seeing this, Dong Yiming indeed didn't think carefully. He took out some soul stones and placed them on the table. Then, he immediately got up and led the other 7 people into the space-time passage. These people have mastered the law of time. They're a bit secretive. When the guests in the hall saw this scene, they couldn't help but be surprised. Because Dong Yiming and the others' performance in the restaurant was very mediocre, everyone thought that they were just ordinary people. Under the night sky, Thousand Phoenix Mountain looked even more messy. There was no trace of a beast in the surroundings. It was dead silent. Now, the beasts in this area had already regarded Thousand Phoenix Mountain as a forbidden area. All of this was because Qin Feiyang and the others often appeared in Thousand Phoenix Mountain. Sometimes, the birth of a forbidden area was that simple. Buzz. In the sky. A space-time passage appeared. Qin Feiyang and the other two looked at each other and smiled. This was because they had already sensed the aura of the burly man in the space-time passage. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and 3,000 clones appeared, surrounding the space-time tunnel in 3 layers. When Dong Yiming and the others walked out of the passage, they would be turtles in a jar. Finally, under the anticipation of Qin Feiyang and the other two, the burly man was the first to walk out, followed by Dong Yiming and the others. What's going on? As soon as they appeared, they immediately saw the 3,000 clones around them and their expressions froze. Welcome to Thousand Phoenix Mountain. The white-eyed wolf opened his mouth and his voice broke the silence of the night sky. It was particularly loud. The 8 of them were shocked and hurriedly looked down. When they saw Qin Feiyang and the other 2 below, their expressions changed drastically. Bastards, you actually betrayed us. Dong Yiming glared at the 3 burly men and roared. Now, it was obvious. There was no change in Thousand Phoenix Mountain at all. This was a trap set by Qin Feiyang and the other 2. Therefore, while roaring, he opened a space-time passage and prepared to escape. The 3,000 clones erupted with a terrifying aura and rushed forward, shattering the space-time passage that had just been opened. Why did you betray us? Dong Yiming roared. Don't you understand? The members of the Death God army were carefully selected by the Emperor and the ruler. Loyalty is definitely the most important factor, so how could they betray us? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Dong Yiming was stunned and suddenly recorded something. Looking at the 3 burly men, he said in a deep voice, "You controlled them?" "That's right." Qin Feiyang nodded. "Why did you do this?" "We have no enmity with you." Dong Yiming's face was as calm as water. "Are you still planning to act? How childish. Just cripple them." They just had to pretend to be ordinary people again. This kind of ignorant trick was enough to see at once. As Qin Feiyang's voice fell, the 3,000 clones attacked and directly crushed the 8 of them like a hot knife through butter, not giving them the slightest chance to resist. With a series of screams, the 8 of them were crushed one after another, and blood stained the sky. But suddenly, accompanied by a loud clang, a divine weapon rushed out from Dong Yiming's broken body, swept up the 8 people's divine souls, and fled frantically. High-level ruler divine weapon. Qin Feiyang and the other 2 were stunned. They didn't expect there to be an unexpected surprise. Chapter 43:15. Dong Yiming's sovereign divine weapon was a divine hammer. It was more than 2 meters long and was purple gold in color. It was surrounded by the power of thunder and lightning, exuding a mighty aura. Judging from its aura, it was a high-grade sovereign divine weapon. Thunder deity hammer, hurry up and kill them. Dong Yiming's divine soul roared. Because they had been changing their appearances and hiding their identities, and because it was their first time in the 4 great continents, he thought that no one would know their identities. So, they didn't split their divine souls in advance to save their lives. If they fell into the hands of Qin Feiyang and the other 2, they would die. The thunder deity hammer shone with dazzling divine light and carried a wave of thunder and lightning toward the 3,000 clones, hoping to kill their way out. However, they ignored it. How could a high-grade sovereign divine weapon defeat Qin Feiyang's 3,000 clones? Boom! Ultimate intents appeared one after another. The 3,000 clones had only activated the ultimate intents of the law of life and death. They hadn't even activated the will of the heavenly Tao. Even so, seeing the 3,000 ultimate intents of the law of life and death, Dong Yiming and the others, including the thunder deity hammer, couldn't help but fall into despair. The law of life and death was above the ultimate laws. The kingdom of life and death was enough to fight against 6 ultimate laws. One could imagine how terrifying the power of the 3,000 kingdom of life and death was. Crack! The thunder deity hammer shattered on the spot. The blazing light dimmed as well. More than half of the divine souls of Dong Yiming and the others disappeared on the spot. They were terrified to the extreme. "Don't kill them!" The white-eyed wolf hurriedly shouted. "Got it." The 3,000 clones spoke. As they waved their hands, the kingdom of life and death dissipated in an instant. The remnant souls of Dong Yiming and the others and the fragments of the thunder deity hammer floated in the broken void, trembling. Was this Qin Feiyang's strength? He was like a heavenly god. Without a large army, who would dare to fight against him? Qin Feiyang looked at the thunder deity hammer and said lightly, "Surrender to us now, or you will be destroyed." Although his tone was calm, it contained a great sense of oppression. The thunder immortal hammer trembled and flew to the front of Qin Feiyang, like a subject and a king. "Not bad, very sensible. Make a blood oath." Qin Feiyang chuckled. If it was a low-level dominator divine weapon, with his current foundation, he wouldn't care much about it. But a high-level dominator divine weapon was rare even in the divine kingdom. Furthermore, a high-grade sovereign weapon already had the power to crush an expert with will of the heavens. Therefore, as long as he could subdue it, he would try his best to do so. After the thunder immortal hammer made the blood oath, Qin Feiyang looked at Dong Yiming and the others. As soon as the 8 of them saw Qin Feiyang's eyes, they immediately lost all hope and chose to destroy their own souls. Otherwise, they would become puppets in the hands of Qin Feiyang and the others like the 3 big men. How can there be so many naive people in this world? Madman shook his head. He took a step forward and landed in front of the 8 remnant souls, directly suppressing them. It was impossible for them to destroy themselves. What a joke! The 8 of them were existences that had grasped the will of the heavens and had dozens of ultimate mysteries. How could he let them go to hell with their ultimate mysteries? If they wanted to go to hell, they had to leave behind their ultimate mysteries first. Not bad. Another 66 ultimate mysteries. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. There were a total of 11 people and each of them had 6 ultimate mysteries. That's not right. Madman took the remnant souls of the 8 people and landed in front of the white-eyed wolf, shaking his head. What do you mean? The white-eyed wolf was puzzled. This Dong Yiming is the deputy commander of the 10th team. He definitely has more than 6 ultimate mysteries. Madman bared his teeth. Yeah. The white-eyed wolf patted his head and asked Dong Yiming, "Old man, how many ultimate mysteries do you have?" Dong Yiming's divine soul was silent as he stared at Qin Feiyang and the others with eyes full of hatred. "Not going to open your mouth? All right. Let's go back to the black tortoise world." The white-eyed wolf sneered. As long as you fall into their hands, it's best to learn to cooperate to avoid suffering. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and led the group into the Devil's Land. Next. Naturally, they had to find Long Chen. This time, Long Chen didn't complain because Qin Feiyang told him the general situation of the Death God army. Knowing these things, Long Chen's face suddenly became very dignified. The 10th team had a total of 10,000 members. It was hard to imagine how many there would be if the 10 teams were added together. It seemed that they had to think of a way to seize more ultimate mysteries. I agree to go back to the Sky Cloud world. However, we must deal with the gate of the Divine Kingdom in advance. Before Qin Feiyang and the others left, Long Chen said this sentence. Tea Garden. The white-eyed wolf looked at Dong Yiming's remnant soul and joked, "Now tell me, how many ultimate mysteries have you mastered?" 8. This time, Dong Yiming was very cooperative. What was asked, what was the answer? 8. So, except for the law of light and darkness and the law of life and death, you have mastered all the ultimate mysteries? The white-eyed wolf was stunned. Yes. Dong Yiming nodded. Huh, not bad, not bad. The white-eyed wolf laughed. In this way, the 11 people in front of them contributed 68 ultimate mysteries of the ultimate mysteries of the ultimate mysteries of the heavenly Tao to them. Madman glanced at the 11 people, his eyes flickered and said, "Old Qin, why don't we keep them?" Huh? Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf couldn't help but look at Madman. Although depriving them of their inheritance can allow us to create other heavenly Tao powerhouses, it will take a lot of time to do so. And now, what we need the most is time. Madman frowned. Makes sense. But have you thought about it? The white-eyed wolf nodded, but then he changed the topic and continued, "These people are all controlled by Long Chen. They have nothing to do with us. But isn't Long Chen as close as brothers with us now? You still don't believe him?" Madman was suspicious. The white-eyed wolf hurriedly waved his hand and said, No, I definitely believe him. But I don't believe Ice Dragon, and I don't believe Long Zun. What you said makes sense. Qin Feiyang glanced at the two, then looked at Madman and said, "But I'm more inclined to believe the white-eyed wolf. We have to be careful of Ice Dragon and Long Zun. If we keep these people, they might become a problem in the future." Madman pondered for a while and said with a strange expression, "Now I'm really doubting whether Long Chen is the biological son of Ice Dragon and Long Zun." Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf heard this and couldn't help but smile bitterly. They had doubted this question more than once. Long Qin must be the biological son of the two. Although Long Qin had changed a lot now, she was almost exactly the same as Ice Dragon and Long Zun in the past. No. The current Long Qin was no different from before. It was just different from person to person. Now in front of them, she was indeed very good, like a cute little sister. But in front of outsiders or enemies, she had a different attitude. But Long Chen was different. Up until now, he had always been a kind-hearted and righteous person. He was completely different from Ice Dragon and Long Zun. Why don't we investigate Long Chen's identity? Maybe we can find out some big secrets. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. For example. Madman looked at him with interest. The white-eyed wolf pondered for a while, and his eyes suddenly lit up. He bared his teeth and said, "For example, he might be the illegitimate son of Long Zun and Yi Zhong." Yi Zhong. Madman was slightly taken aback and nodded. There is really this possibility, because Yi Zhong has always been by Long Zun's side, and Ice Dragon is not around all year round. As the saying goes, a single man and a single woman, love grows over time. Hey. What nonsense are you talking about? Seeing that Madman's words were getting more and more ridiculous, Qin Feiyang's face couldn't help but darken, and he stared at the two of them angrily. Madman bared his teeth and said, "We are just making a reasonable analysis. You see, Yi Zhong is highly respected and cares about the common people." Stop. Qin Feiyang hurriedly raised his hand and said angrily, "Stop your imagination right now. What the hell was this?" Just because Long Chen and Yi Zhong's characters were similar, they said that they were related? In this world, there seemed to be a lot of kind-hearted and loyal people. Moreover, Yi Zhong was his master. In front of him, he said that about his master. Did he ever consider his feelings? Ha! Madman and white-eyed wolf laughed awkwardly. Fortunately, Long Qin wasn't here at the moment. Otherwise, if he heard these words, he would definitely fall out with the two of them. Next, Qin Feiyang asked Dong Yiming and the others to extract their ultimate meaning, and then asked Dong Yiming to destroy their own divine souls. Indeed, as the three burly men said, even as the deputy commander of the 10th team, Dong Yiming didn't know the situation of the other 9 teams. It seemed that this matter still depended on the inner demons and Lu Jiejin. Whoosh! 3 days later, Pai Lupi and Madman broke through the air and arrived. Where are Brother Wolf and Brother Madman? The two of them were suspicious. I don't know where they went to fool around. Qin Feiyang shook his head. 3 days ago, after Dong Yiming and the others destroyed their own divine souls, the two of them disappeared without a trace. Pai Lupi shook his head and laughed. We have already checked the creatures of the Black Tortoise world. Currently, there are only about 500 people who have stepped into the sovereign realm, and most of them are only half-step sovereigns. That's it? Qin Feiyang frowned. And this includes the beasts. The two of them nodded. Sigh. It seems that although the Black Tortoise world is growing very fast, its foundation is still too weak. Qin Feiyang sighed. Not to mention divine, even the Sky Cloud realm was far inferior. But, Pai Lupi hesitated for a moment and said, there are quite a few Yun family in Zhongzhou. Yun family? Qin Feiyang was taken aback. Pai Lupi said, it's Yun Xiang's family, Yun Zhongtian, Yun Zhongyue, and Yun Guanghui. Yes. How could I forget them? The Yun family used to be a noble family in the Sky Cloud realm. There must be many sovereign realm clansmen. Qin Feiyang patted his head and looked at the two of them with a smile. Why do you hesitate when mentioning the Yun family? The two of them wanted to say something but hesitated. Chapter 43:16. Could it be that someone from the Yun family isn't being honest? Qin Feiyang frowned. There must be a reason why the two of them were so hesitant. And this reason was the most likely. That's not it. They have been very honest all these years, including Yun Guanghui's brothers. Pai Lupi and Theta Wang hurriedly waved their hands. Not it? Qin Feiyang was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, then why? Sigh. Li Er let out a long sigh. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, young master, I'll say something I shouldn't say. Although the Yun family has a good relationship with us, they don't belong to the Black Tortoise realm. That's right. In the Black Tortoise world, with your deterrence, no matter how strong they become, they won't dare to act rashly. However, they can't always stay in the Black Tortoise world. Sooner or later, they will leave the Black Tortoise world and return to the Sky Cloud world. If you nurture the Yun family now and let them give birth to a large number of experts with the will of the heavenly Tao, when they return to the Sky Cloud world, they will be the strongest. Theta Wang said. Continue. Qin Feiyang held the teacup, his eyes flashing. The Yun family couldn't always stay in the Black Tortoise world. Sooner or later, they would return to the Sky Cloud world. If you stay in the Sky Cloud world in the future, the Yun family won't dare to act rashly because of your strength and prestige. However, your home is in the great Qin Empire. Sooner or later, you will return to your roots. Think about it, when you return to the great Qin Empire, the Yun family will rely on their strength to do whatever they want in the Sky Cloud world. At that time, who will be able to keep them in check? Pai Lupi said worriedly. Return to my roots, Qin Feiyang murmured and smiled, I didn't expect you to understand me so well. Pai Lupi and Theta Wang looked at each other and smiled, we have been by your side for so many years. How could we not know what your wish is? Then wouldn't we have been blinded? Qin Feiyang laughed in spite of himself and said, continue talking about the Yun family. Back then, in the Sky Cloud realm, the Yun family and the He family fought to the death. Although it seemed that the He family was in the wrong, in fact, these two families were not good people. Furthermore, in this world, not everyone is like you, young master, who doesn't care about fame and fortune. Most people will continue to swell as they become stronger, and gradually develop ambitions. The Yun family is not a saint. Perhaps in the beginning, they will maintain a low profile, stay in a corner, and stand aloof from worldly affairs. But who can guarantee that they can maintain this forever? Even if Yun Zhongtian and Yun Guanghui can, what about Yun Guangyao and the others? You should still remember. Back then, when the Yun family had just entered the Black Tortoise world, there were some disciples of the Yun family who went to the three major regions to bully others. In the end, when we taught them a lesson, Yun Guanyao and the others resented us. From this matter, it can be seen that these people are not good people. If they are allowed to gain power, when they return to the Sky Cloud realm, I'm afraid that the flames of war that you have spent so many years in the Sky Cloud realm will burn again. It may even be more terrifying than before. Pai Lupi said in a deep voice. That's right. If the Yun family really has any ambitions, then the Feng people, the human race, the dragons, the Qilan clan, and even the Lord Rabbit of the Sky Cloud Sea and the Azure Dragon of the Land of Buried Gods will not be able to escape. Theta Wang also nodded in agreement, deeply worried. Qin Feiyang's heart trembled as he looked up at the two. What's wrong? Did we say something wrong? If so, just pretend that we didn't say anything. The two said with some fear. Don't be nervous, don't be nervous. I just feel very surprised. Because of these interests, I didn't even think about it. Qin Feiyang shook his head. You have too many things on your hands. Moreover, facing the powerful central dynasty, you are under too much pressure. It's normal that you didn't think about it. The two laughed dryly. Are you trying to say that I'm too impatient for success? Qin Feiyang smiled. No, no. The two hurriedly waved their hands. You two, after being together for so many years, you understand me, but do you think I don't understand you? To be honest, you really woke me up. At this stage, I'm too impatient for success, so I didn't think about many details. Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. It couldn't be helped. The Death God army gave him too much pressure. We didn't say that. You admitted it yourself. Pai Lupi chuckled. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. After pondering for a moment, he sighed, it seems that the most appropriate method is to train our own people. Yes. The two nodded. But there are only a little more than 500 rulers in the Black Tortoise realm. How can this be enough? The Death God army has 10 teams. If each team has 10,000 people, then there will be 100,000 experts with heavenly will. And this doesn't include the 5,000 experts with heavenly will in the Central Dynasty. If the Central Dynasty comes out in full force, whether it's us, the three races of the Divine Kingdom, or the Sky Cloud realm, we will all be destroyed. Qin Feiyang sighed. So many. The two were dumbfounded. Otherwise, why would I be so impatient for success? Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly. It seems that you are under a lot of pressure. Pai Lupi murmured. It's more than just pressure. If it were us, we would have already collapsed. It's not easy for the young master to be able to hold on. Theta Wang sighed. He admired Qin Feiyang from the bottom of his heart. Fearless, brave, determined, responsible, in the tea garden. There was a brief silence. Qin Feiyang held a teacup, sipping tea while pondering. Pai Lupi and Theta Wang stood aside. A moment later. Qin Feiyang sat down and made a decision. He looked up at the two and said, I'll give you another task. Please tell us. The two bowed. Build a holy land in our Black Tortoise realm. Whether it's humans or beasts, as long as they have the talent and pass the test, they can enter the Holy Land to cultivate. Qin Feiyang said. Holy Land. The two were stunned. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded and asked with a smile, now, in the eyes of our Black Tortoise realm, the Devil's Land should be a holy land for cultivation. It's not just a holy land. For the Black Tortoise realm, the Devil's Land is the most supreme place in the Black Tortoise realm. And among the people, there are countless rumors about the Devil's Land. In short, to be able to enter the Devil's Land and take a look, many people can die without regrets. The two smiled slightly. The Devil's Land can't be casually stepped in. After all, this is our foundation. Qin Feiyang smiled. And the two nodded. This was understandable. If anyone could step into the Devil's Land, wouldn't it be a mess? Since they can't come to the devil's land, I'll create a holy land for them. I'll give them the best resources, the best cultivation environment, the most powerful divine arts, divine artifacts, and profound laws. As long as they're willing to work hard, they can get everything. Qin Feiyang smiled. In that case, the scale of the Holy Land must be very large. Because I can already predict that once the news of the birth of a Holy Land spreads, the Black Tortoise realm will definitely flock here. Pai Lupi smiled. You can't just recruit anyone into the Holy Land. They must pass the test. Of course. The test is just a standard. You'll have to observe the actual situation carefully. After all, sometimes, talent doesn't mean everything. Some have mediocre talent, but outstanding perseverance. Some seem to be slow, but little do you know that they're wise but stupid, a late bloomer. Some have good talent, but their mentality isn't strong, and their character isn't good. It'll be difficult for them to achieve great things. In short, you must supervise all of this. This is your only task now, to establish this holy land for me. You can think of this as a death order from me. The future Holy Land will be the pillar of our Black Tortoise realm. Qin Feiyang said each word with a pause. What about the management of the Black Tortoise realm? The two asked. As for the management of the Black Tortoise realm, I'll let Pei Dason and Pei Hongyu come back. After all, they already have experience and can quickly get used to it. Qin Feiyang smiled. The two hesitated. What's wrong? Do you think that I'm neglecting you by not letting you manage the Black Tortoise realm? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. He could tell at a glance what these two fellows were thinking. No. The two hurriedly shook their heads. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. Let me tell you, creating a holy land is a heavy responsibility. It's because I trust you that I'm handing this responsibility to you. Think about it, the Black Tortoise realm has already stabilized, and everything is going according to plan. There's no need to manage it at all. However, the Holy Land is different. Everything in the Holy Land will have to start anew. If it weren't for someone with some ability, I wouldn't have dared to hand such an important task to him. Therefore, instead of neglecting you, I value you even more and put you in an important position. Qin Feiyang explained with a smile. The two looked at each other. It turned out that he valued them even more and entrusted them with an important task. They bowed and said, Understood, we promise to complete the task. You can choose the location of the Holy Land. You can allocate the resources of the Black Tortoise realm as you wish. When the time comes, I'll also instruct Pei Dason and Pei Hongyu to fully cooperate with you. In short, you can do whatever you want. I hope to see a large number of living beings step into the sovereign realm in the shortest time possible. Qin Feiyang said. Yes. The two bowed and replied. If Pei Dason and Pei Hongyu were to cooperate with them, wouldn't their status in the Black Tortoise realm be higher than it was now? The most important thing was, they could also allocate the resources of the Black Tortoise realm as they wished. One had to know, no matter where, resources were undoubtedly the most important. Usually, they were handed over to the most trusted people to manage. This was enough to prove the degree of trust Qin Feiyang had in them. Go. Let me see the results as soon as possible. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Yes. The two bowed and replied. Then, they soared into the sky and flew away like lightning. Chapter 43:17. Looking at the disappearing figures of the two, Qin Feiyang revealed a trace of a smile on his face. Sure enough. No matter how good a steed is, it still needs a talent scout. Although it was a bit of a boast, for Pai Lupi and Theta Wang, he was this talent scout. With a thought, two more figures appeared beside him. They were a man and a woman, both middle-aged. It was Pei Dason and Pei Hongyu. Both of them were in seclusion in the central continent to fuse with the inheritance. At this moment, they were suddenly brought to the Devil's Land by Qin Feiyang. However, when they saw Qin Feiyang sitting at the side, the two hurriedly bowed and saluted, "Greetings, young master." And Qin Feiyang nodded and said with a smile, "Have a seat." The brother and sister looked at each other and walked to the opposite side of Qin Feiyang and sat down. "Are you very puzzled as to why I suddenly called you over?" Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. The brother and sister nodded. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "I need you to continue to assist the Fire Lotus and manage the affairs of the Black Tortoise realm." "Huh?" The brother and sister looked at each other. This was too unexpected. "Where are Pai Lupi and Theta Wang?" Pei Dason asked. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "They have more important tasks to do. In the future, they won't have time to manage the Black Tortoise realm." More important tasks? The two were surprised. What task was more important than managing the Black Tortoise realm? When the time comes, you can ask them directly. In addition, if they have any needs in the future, you must fully cooperate. Qin Feiyang reminded. Yes. The brother and sister stood up and replied, unable to hide the joy in their hearts. Who was the most powerful in the Black Tortoise realm? It was undoubtedly Qin Feiyang. Because Qin Feiyang was the ruler of the Black Tortoise realm. Only by following him would they be able to obtain extraordinary status and glory. Although they didn't say anything during these years in the central state, they were actually quite disappointed in their hearts. From their point of view, Qin Feiyang telling them to put aside the matters of the Black Tortoise realm and return to the Central Plains was equivalent to exiling them. But fortunately, now, Qin Feiyang was using them again. He swore silently in his heart. In the future, he had to work harder and strive to stay in the Devil's Land forever. Just like what Pai Lupi and Theta Wang had said before, the Devil's Land was now the most supreme place in the Black Tortoise world. It was a great honor to be able to enter the Devil's Land and take a look. Pei Dason and Pei Hongyu were no exception. Therefore, they wanted to stay here for the rest of their lives. I know that you all are very experienced now, but you can't be arrogant. If there's anything important in the future, don't make decisions on your own. Ask Fire Lotus first. Qin Feiyang instructed. Understood. The two of them nodded. All right. Go down first. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. This subordinate will take his leave. The brother and sister turned around, smiled at each other, and strode away with a happy mood. Is the Devil's Land really that tempting? Qin Feiyang frowned and glanced around. He was in the Devil's Land every day and didn't feel that there was anything special about it. It was precisely because he was in the Devil's Land every day that he had long been accustomed to everything here, so he didn't feel that there was anything attractive about it. Immediately after, he closed his eyes and released his perception. Soon, his expression froze, and he muttered suspiciously, "Why is this woman still in the village?" Immediately, he got up. With a thought, the next moment, he appeared in the sky above a small village. There weren't many people in the village, but they were all very kind. Especially the old people in the village, who looked kind and amiable at first glance. Lord Ruler. Look, the Lord Ruler is here. There was a 7 or 8-year-old child in the village. After seeing Qin Feiyang, he rubbed his small eyes in disbelief and then shouted. Lord Ruler. Little brat, who are you fooling? How could the Lord Ruler come to our small place? A slightly older youth patted the child's head. It's true. Look for yourself. The little brat pointed to the sky. The older youth saw that the little brat didn't seem to be joking and immediately looked up. His expression was immediately stunned. It's really the Lord Ruler's divine weapon, he muttered. When he came back to his senses, he suddenly became alert and shouted, Father, Mother, Grandfather, grandmother, uncle, aunt, come out quickly. The Lord Ruler has come to our village. His voice was much louder than the little brats. Whether it was the villagers in the house or the villagers hunting nearby, they all ran out and looked up at the sky. It really is the Lord Ruler. He is the idol I have always admired. I didn't expect to see him in person today. A 13 or 14-year-old youth murmured, his eyes full of worship. At the same time, not far away, a woman in a white dress was leading a group of children to catch crabs in a small stream. It's really the Lord Ruler. Let's go over quickly. Even a 3 or 4-year-old snot-nosed child recognized Qin Feiyang. Because at the entrance of the village stood a statue. This statue was more than 10 meters tall, with a slender figure and a clear outline. It was like a god guarding the village. This statue was Qin Feiyang. In the current Black Tortoise realm, whether it was the bustling cities or the remote villages, there was a stone statue of Qin Feiyang erected. In short, these children had all grown up looking at the stone statue. So, how could they not recognize Qin Feiyang? Immediately, the group of youths threw away the crabs in their hands and ran toward the village excitedly. It's really delicious. The woman in the white dress pouted. This person was Long Qin. A day in the outside world was 5,000 years in the Black Tortoise realm. According to the time in the Black Tortoise realm, she had been in this village for many years. Over the years, she had personally witnessed generations of youths in the village grow up and step into the mortal world to experience and make their way. Some people made a name for themselves and gained both fame and fortune. There were also people who returned sadly, living in seclusion in the village, getting married and having children. Therefore, over the years, Long Qin had a very deep understanding of life. Her state of mind was also far beyond the past. At this time, there was no longer the arrogance of the past on her body. Instead, there was a touch of the mortal world, like an ordinary woman. Greetings, Lord Ruler. The old people in the village rose into the air and respectfully bowed in front of Qin Feiyang. The smiles on their faces were extremely bright. Qin Feiyang glanced at Long Qin by the stream and looked at the villagers in front of him. He waved his hand and said with a smile, "No need to be so polite. Just treat me as an ordinary person." "No, I am an ordinary person. Lord Ruler is too humble." "How can you be an ordinary person? If you are an ordinary person, then what are we?" The people in the village were a little flattered. The rumors were true. This ruler was amiable and approachable. The group of children below could not help but mutter, "Is this the big brother next door?" "Yes. I'm the same as that beautiful sister. I'm your big brother next door." Qin Feiyang landed in front of the group of children and pointed at Long Qin by the stream and said with a smile. A 7 or 8-year-old child turned his head to look at Long Qin. His eyes rolled and he suddenly said, "So big brother is here to look for sister Long." Qin Feiyang looked at the child and said with a smile, "Little one, you're quite smart. What's your name?" "My name is Yi Chen. This name was given to me by Sister Long." Little Yi Chen raised his little head and said with a rather proud look. "Is that so?" Qin Feiyang had an astonished look on his face as he asked, "Then does big sister Long treat you well?" "Yes. Everyone in our village likes Sister Long, because not only does she take us to play, but she also teaches us to cultivate. Many brothers and sisters in our village became famous geniuses in the northern region under Sister Long's guidance." Seeing that Qin Feiyang was so kind, the group of teenagers gradually let go of their courage and surrounded Qin Feiyang, chattering non-stop. The adults and elders at the side couldn't help but sweat. It was true that a newborn calf was not afraid of a tiger. Because in the hearts of these adults and elders, no matter how approachable Qin Feiyang was, he was still the ruler of the Black Tortoise realm. So, out of instinctive respect, they didn't dare to be so presumptuous. Suddenly, a teenager moved in front of Qin Feiyang, grabbed Qin Feiyang's hand, and said mysteriously, "Big brother, I'll tell you a secret." "What secret?" Qin Feiyang was curious. "My grandfather once went to the western region to donate blood." The youth said. "Donate blood?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. He turned his head to look at the crowd and asked, "Really? Really? Father taught me since I was young that I must be honest and not lie to others." The teenager listened and said with a straight back. "Be honest," Qin Feiyang murmured. These words, who knew how many people would lower their heads in shame? Because in this world of mutual deception, the word honesty had become very cheap. Some people, I'm afraid, have never spoken a word of truth in their entire life. Every day was spent in lies. How could they be honest? After traveling to so many continents, it seemed that the people of the Black Tortoise realm were simple and honest. Even such a child knew the value of honesty. Seeing that Qin Feiyang was silent, the teenager looked at Qin Feiyang innocently and asked, "Did I say something wrong?" "No, no. I'm just thinking, if you tell me this secret now, won't it no longer be a secret in the future?" Qin Feiyang laughed. "That's right." The teenager slapped his head, looking a little angry. Qin Fei laughed involuntarily, rubbed the teenager's head, and asked, "Who is your grandfather?" The teenager glanced at the crowd and pointed at an old man with white hair. "He is my grandfather." Qin Feiyang looked up at the old man and bowed, "Thank you, elder. Lord Ruler is too polite. This is what we should do as your subjects. Moreover, I'm not the only one who donated blood. In the past, many people in the village went to the western region to donate blood. But don't think too much about it, we all did it willingly. We never expected you to repay us." The old man quickly waved his hand. "There is nothing that should be done. There is only trust and support." Qin Feiyang shook his head, looked at the villagers around, and bowed sincerely. "Thank you for your trust and support in me, Qin Feiyang." "No, no. How can we accept this bow of yours? Besides, isn't it all because of you that we can live such a comfortable life now?" Everyone was filled with fear. Qin Feiyang looked at these faces, and the determination in his heart became even stronger. He must protect the living beings of the Black Tortoise realm, and he must not let these lovely people be bullied. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.